Good morning, Source Gamers. How's everybody doing on this June 23rd, Sunday in 2024? We're in New York. If you are in New York, it is incredibly hot, and it has been for a lot of other places I've heard. With me this
Yeah, it's
morning,
been
I've
pretty
got,
over here in the UK as well, to be fair.
yeah, we got,
We're I don't know if I'd call it a heat wave, although in my recording room it's pretty hot because I'm like surrounded by walls super close by on all
we got a
sides.
pocket heat wave.
Yeah.
And then we
Ah.
have Slink. How you doing, Slink?
Hello, I'm checking the weather really quick. Oh dear.
How's it over there?
It's 87, but it will increase rapidly over the course of the day.
Oh, what's the air quality like over there too? Because we have air quality alerts in New York for like the past week.
You have air quality alerts? Oh
Yeah.
dear.
And you can
The
also
life of New
tell,
Yorker.
like when it's like, because when I was at my partner's place, she has an apartment that's like really high up, so it's like you can actually see where, like if one day it's like, oh, the sky is like really blue, it's like, it looks pretty good outside, and then it's like, yeah, the sky is blue, but then it's like faded a little. It's like, oh snap, okay, it looks nice out today, but there clearly is an air quality problem.
There's no air quality issue, but apparently we have a heat advisory in effect. It
Oof.
starts in 6 minutes.
Oh boy.
Oh shit. The sun is just getting a bit closer to wherever you are. It's homing in, lurking behind.
It's been trying to get me for years now.
But you haven't seen it in ages. So it's not successful.
I remember when I was a kid, there was one time it was summers back then were not as hot as they are now, but it still was a hot summer. And like you've ever seen like those like little like caps with the like an umbrella hat basically, where it's like
Yeah.
you wrap it around your head, and then like a fan's that look like an umbrella. It's like it's rainbow, like rainbow color and stuff. I remember I wore one of those when I was a kid, and that I was like, oh, it's gonna help protect me from the sun, and it only made me much more hotter. And now it's like, damn, do I like there's something like, I should probably start wearing a hat, and then I just think to that moment, and it's like, no, I'm gonna be a lot hotter if I wear a hat, especially in the summer. There's no point. I can't escape.
I'm really bad with wearing hats because I have a big head. So hats are like not comfy to wear most of the time. I have to get like a really big hat, but then it runs the risk of like looking too big. Like it's never like an ideal size. It's either too small or it's too big and looks silly. And it's a pain in the bum. But I'm gonna have to get used to it because I'm in Japan next week and it's going to
Right.
be absolutely boiling.
Always make sure you carrying water with you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna need water. I'm gonna need like factor 50 sunscreen, and I'm gonna need a hat.
You know how like, okay, first off, actually, before I bring this up, we have a super chat from Huff, a $5 super chat asking, do y'all think that if given the ability to, you could physically and mentally pull the trigger and kill Diddy Kong?
No,
Not again. Not again.
I don't think I could. I'm not a monkey killer. I ain't a monkey
Not
killer.
again, Huff.
Again?
Anyways, that bad.
Has this happened before?
Has he killed Diddy Kong?
He asked this question to me like 2 days ago.
And
What'd you say?
I said that bastard has it coming.
Oh damn!
Exactly.
So you've killed Diddy Kong
Many times. He just keeps coming back.
Mario was right. He had a good thing going on in the arcade games. I don't think.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. Don't cancel me for it.
I'm not continuing that show. No.
Anyways, good morning.
Anyways, well, I guess as always, what games are we all playing? I've been insanely busy on my end, editing videos and making sure I've got everything done before I go to Japan. Although I did manage to finish Paper Mario finally, but I actually played a game yesterday. Played two games actually, but the one I want to talk about is brand new. It's called Moonstone Island. if you've heard of it. Either of you.
I
Came out
don't
like
think
4
I-
days ago.
I haven't.
Let me look it up real quick.
Take a look at this.
Yeah, so it's basically this, to sum it up, it's a crossover between, well, it's not an official crossover, but it's basically they took Stardew Valley and mixed it with Pokemon with card RPG mechanics. And like, I'm not a big farming sim person, but I really enjoyed it. I got super absorbed into it. It's got this Kiki's Delivery Service kind of vibe where you're a rookie alchemist who leaves home for the first time and you crash land on your broom on this like floating island. And you can just set up your tent anywhere, and there's like a town with a bunch of residents that you can befriend and do favors for. And then you pretty much run around, farm, try and earn money, kind of like a survival game, all while exploring dungeons, going into mines, and fighting other monsters that you have to try and tame and join your party. And you can train them up like you do Pokemon, and every time they level up, you can choose a stat to go to increase. And combat is handled by like card game mechanics. So every monster has like cards associated with them, and every time they level up, you can add a new card to the deck. And you draw obviously like 5 random cards from all of your monsters' decks. So when you have like a team of monsters, all of their decks get combined together.
Right.
And you have to like keep track of which card is being used by which monster, because that affects stats. Like you might have 2 tackle cards, but they'll have different stats based on like which monster the tackle card is associated with, because obviously some monsters are better than others. Usually the card will tell you if it's going to do more or less damage, but it's just it's like lots of little things to keep track of, and I got like super invested into it. I thought it was really good, and I'd never heard of it before until the other day. So I would recommend it to anyone who likes farming sim type games, or just isn't a big fan of farming sim, but like likes RPGs and stuff. Like this might be a farming sim that you can get behind.
The art in the trailers is really nice. It does look really cute in comparison to like, I do like the difference in expression of characters and like art character designs in comparison to like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I see. I haven't played Stardew Valley. I've only like seen footage of it because, again, I'm not massive into farming sims.
Right.
But you're right. I think just from what I've seen, I prefer the way that the characters look in this, like the character portraits and stuff. I've only played it for like 2 or 3 hours yesterday. I think I didn't intend to play it for that long. I just sort of got absorbed into it. And unfortunately, I probably won't have time to play it until I get back from Japan, so it's gonna have to be like a later this year game.
Did you get it on PC or Switch?
I got it on PC, so I got it on the Steam Deck. I was playing it on the Steam Deck yesterday.
Oh, then I mean, if you
won't
have
be
a Steam Deck, never mind then.
Yeah, I'm not taking that to Japan. I don't have the space. I'll take my Switch, but that's gonna be it in terms of game consoles. I probably even won't play it that much, just in case.
I mean, it's time for you to double dip.
It's more of a luggage situation. Like I'm going to be out there for like 6 weeks. I got to really think about what I'm taking with me.
And then also what you bring back.
Well, yeah, true.
If you can bring back anything.
I'm thinking of bringing a suit, because I can bring 2 carry-on luggage and then 1 check luggage. And I think one of the carry-on luggages might be a suitcase that is like mostly empty. And then I'm going to leave it at a friend who lives in Tokyo. And during the end of the trip, when I'm back in Tokyo, that's when I'll do souvenir shopping, and I'll just fill up that suitcase. Because I know I'm getting Nintendo. I know I'm getting NES World Championship while I'm out there, because I'm getting the Japanese special edition.
Right.
And I plan on picking up that Good Feel game that they made that hasn't been confirmed to be localized.
The drum one? I forgot the name of it.
Yeah. Like, I was waiting. I told myself, like, if they don't announce an official localization before I go to Japan, I will just buy it while I'm out there and get it physically.
It's gonna be so funny when you come back and then announce it.
Yeah, I know. It was fine. I was also thinking of getting Omega 6, but they actually confirmed to me on Twitter that Omega 6 is getting a physical outside of Japan as well. So I am just going to wait for that one.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Moonstone Island. I would recommend it. that's
go.
really the only thing I've had to play other than Paper Mario. The only thing I've had time to play. So
I
what
do.
about
Maybe I'll check
you,
it out.
Phantom?
I'll go last because I haven't
Okay.
really been too consistent, and also have a different. I have more of a what I watched as well. Um. So Slake, if you want to go ahead first before we.
So, I have been playing the usual gauntlet of 3 games. The Honkai Impact Third, Honkai Star Rail, and Genshin Impact. As per usual, the newest Star Rail update was amazing. Genuinely deeply moving experience. I cheered, I laughed, I cried. But the other game that I've been playing is a ROM hack of Ocarina of Time called The Ultimate Trial, which is like it's an enemy gauntlet, very combat focused ROM hack, but the sheer quality on display just sets it apart from a lot of hacks that are kind of not very dungeon or exploration focused like it. It's incredibly high quality. The writing feels like pretty actually interesting and like in line with Zelda. From what I understand from the bits I've been able to play of it so far, um, it seems like it's taking place on the funny downfall timeline, right after Link dies to Ganondorf, to Ganon in the final battle of Ocarina of Time. And I think this because everyone else in the game does not know how they have gotten to the area where the game takes place, but some of them remember dying or like everything went black, like they got knocked out before just like showing up there.
Hold on a second. I'm really confused. Are we still talking about Honkai?
No,
No, I have been talking about Zelda. What do you
no.
what?
I got really confused. I was like, wait, when did the topic transition from Honkai to Zelda? What Zelda game are we talking about?
I am playing a ROM hack called Ultimate
Oh,
Trial. Did
I think I don't know how I missed that. I was just like,
I think your transition was so smooth that Nanton didn't
yeah,
notice.
I didn't clock until you said like Link dies to Ganon. I was like, wait a minute, what? I thought there was a downfall timeline in Honkai as well or something. Whoops, my bad. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, okay. The downfall timeline. I think it is the downfall timeline because everybody describes some kind of experience of not knowing how they got to the location where the game takes place. And like Link and Navi don't remember anything after they were going to go fight Ganon. So there's that. And then I arrived at like this Coliseum type area, which is like all ominous and it has like Ganon patterns on the ground. It just popped by on the screen. It has Ganon patterns from like the Wind Waker on the ground. If you remember those from Ganon's Tower.
Yeah.
It is very evident to me that that is the case, though it hasn't been confirmed to me yet at the point where I'm in the game, because the background music for that Coliseum area started turning into the Dark World theme, and then
Okay.
I looked into the background and I saw a Link to the Past Ganon just sitting there.
Just chilling, just vibing.
Yeah, he's just vibing. He smacks his trident down to summon new monsters,
Oh, cool.
and he will laugh if you take damage.
Okay, that's pretty fun.
Yeah. So that's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. So it's a hack for Ocarina of Time, I assume.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. What was the? Because I played a Zelda ROM hack this year as well. I've got
What
it
was it
written
like?
down. Give me a sec. It was the Missing Link. That was it.
Oh, Missing Link is great. I've played that one.
Yeah,
I
I
quite
enjoyed that one.
that.
I also played Banjo Kazooie Jiggies of Time, which I also enjoyed.
Somebody told me, oh my god. So it's a known factor that Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite games of all time. And one of my friends who may be listening to this right now because they were in chat earlier, said, "Hey, I'm gonna play Ocarina of Time," and then I went to sleep because I expected it to be a troll. And when I woke up, I found out that they played that Banjo-Kazooie hack instead.
Oh.
It's a good hack. It's surprisingly
Yeah, there
good
he
hack.
is.
I'd like to see them do more Banjo-Kazooie mods of other games. I think they actually
Yeah.
confirmed that they were making a sequel.
I think so.
Yeah, I think they like confirmed it on Twitter like the day after I beat the ROM hack. I was like, "Oh, this is very well timed."
It's also been so long since the last Good Morning Source Gaming. Did I talk about how I played Star Fox Adventures?
I think we
I
had a
don't-
conversation about that, but I don't know if we had that conversation on stream.
We did.
Yeah,
I think you showed up while I was playing it.
Yeah, I that was in
yeah.
Discord
Star
server.
Fox Adventures is a video game released for the GameCube that is very heavily Zelda inspired. And it is not a bad game. It is nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad faith actors on the internet who just like ridicule it.
Completely ruined that game's reputation.
Yeah, one YouTuber who's a very bad person, very racist, completely ruined that game's reputation. And I think it's unfair, the reputation that it's gotten over the years.
Mhm.
It is pretty okay. Like it's nothing amazing, but it's like an enjoyable experience. It has good atmosphere. Some of the level design is actually terrible, but it's like 1 minute chunks that can drag on for a long time because of, well, it's made by Rare. They made Battletoads. You know what you. I am literally talking about something as bad as the Battletoads speeder chase thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what one you're talking about.
There is literally actually a speeder chase in this damn game. Oh, he's getting on it right now in the footage that's there. There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
That's bad.
It's bad.
But yeah, there are these tiny little sections of Star Fox Adventures that are pretty awful. You can tell the point where they ran out of time to make the game because it becomes a rail shooter at the end, like honest to god rail shooter that is horribly designed and you just fly around a cube. And from what I can tell in looking into the Dinosaur Planet that we have a build of that's been kindly restored by fans, that area where the game just gets really bad is not present in the original version of the game. So yeah, just like the last hour of the game's pretty bad, but everything else before it was mostly enjoyable. I had a good time. I think it's a whimsical experience that is funny and weirdly horny for no reason.
It's weirdly horny because it's Rare.
Apparently they were encouraged to make it like that by Shigeru Miyamoto himself. So
I mean that doesn't
the legends
surprise me
say.
given the interviews he's had about like Cat
Pikachu.
Peach. So
Cat Peach and literally like almost everything he said about any female character in Ocarina of Time is like, yeah, this is just a love interest for Link. Shigeru Miyamoto is a funny guy. Don't let him around female characters in video games. He will objectify them.
I feel like with Star Fox Adventures, the part of it that always winds me up is once you get to the ending, because you're right, the ending is definitely like the weakest part. But it like locks you out from being able to go back to the rest of the game.
Yeah, once you go to Krazoa Palace, you can't do anything else.
So I remember having to make a save file right before going to Krazoa Palace, like a separate one, just in case I ever wanted to like actually just run around.
Oh yeah. The final boss is also the funniest thing. They did somehow Palpatine returned in 2002. Incredible. So the whole game builds up general scales. The the guy who throws Crystal off of the ship at the beginning of the game. And then you finally get to a point where you can fight him. And he makes like a little grunt noise of a regular enemy, walks up towards you, will not try to attack you at all. And once you hit him, it's fake out. Haha, you're not fighting General Scales. Here's Andros. Somehow he returned. And then you fight Andros for like a 5-minute actual Star Fox battle. And unfortunately, the game does not do a good job of teaching you how any of its wing mechanics work, because you've barely been flying it for the entire game at all. So that final boss took like 10 tries for me to beat, and it was incredibly annoying. No, not like how Ganondorf was in Twilight Princess. Ganondorf is built up since like the middle of that game. There's a precedence for him being there.
Yeah,
Andros literally comes out of nowhere at the very end of the game.
Yeah, the giant Krazoa head just turns around and it's like, Lamau, it's me, Andros. I'm here now.
Yeah, it's genuinely comical. He like turns around, goes, "Ha, Fox, it is me, Andros," and then he goes, "And now it is time to take over the Lilat system." And then the battle starts.
This is the final culmination of Star Fox taking over Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah. I'm interested in playing the original Dinosaur Planet. I got it working, but there were some technical issues that I need to figure out.
Yeah, I'm curious because I got it working. I got to as far as I think you can get, and then there's just a part of the game where it just doesn't let you go any further for some reason.
It ends, if I remember correctly, it ends around like the part of the game with the pyramid in the actually released game. Yeah.
So I guess like you can tell it's obviously not a finished product.
Yeah.
The version of Dinosaur Planet. But it is neat. You can also tell like what parts they kept in Star Fox Adventures.
Yeah.
And what parts got changed.
The intro is so similar. It was actually surprising to me.
Yeah, they kept a lot of the crystal stuff the same, except they're all obviously talking in English in Dinosaur Planet, and not
they don't speak in that weird like they included a translation guide.
Really?
In the guidebook for Star Fox Adventures that comes with the game.
That's cool.
The instruction manual. And it's literally like they just flip a bunch of letters around in English, but every like proper noun stays the same. So it's like it's so funny. You get like Ko Krazoa Palace. And it's just like, okay, all right.
Ugh. Well, what have you been playing then? / watching, Phantom.
Yeah. So, recently actually I bought an external hard drive for my laptop because my laptop just doesn't have a lot of space. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna download a bunch of games. Most of those being from the Steam Next Fest, as well as on my PC. So a few games from the Steam Next Fest I did play, such as, let me just go to my library real quick to get the names of some of them. There was one called Psycho Giantess Dating Sim. It's perfectly. I'm pretty sure it's a safe for work game, so don't take it in that way. People die though, so there's that. I played a game called Kill Knight, which is it's kind of like it's this very I guess I don't really know how to describe it other than it has a very distinct artistic style. Where actually I'll pull up footage for it real quick. Hold on. It's kind of like a twin stick. It's like a top-down twin stick shooter, but you're also able to use a sword. And it's basically like you're in a gauntlet of enemies. And I played it for like a good 20 minutes because it is very easy to die. And I like it. I do really like it. I just wish I could change the controls. because the ability to not change the controls inherently within the game means that I kind of have to use that its system that it just sets up. Where in other games, I feel like, oh, I would put, you know, both shooters on the triggers instead. Maybe move my my sword to being one of the face buttons rather than a trigger. And the only way that you can change controls is through Steam, through Steam settings, which means that, hey, if you change the controls of that, then naturally any menu buttons would also change their placement as well, which I don't want to do, because I think the placement the buttons for the menus are perfectly fine. There's just a little frustrated there, but game is still fun. Game looks really cool, and I think there's even a leaderboard in the demo. So if the demo still is available and you just want to play to get a taste of the game, you can still do that. There was a game called, what was it, Maid Cafe on Electric Street, and I'd have to see if this game has a trailer. I don't even know if it does, because in Steam discussions, people were saying that, hey, you guys haven't said anything about this game since like 2022. What's going on? And it got a demo that was pretty beefy, to be completely honest. I was genuinely surprised at how long that demo was, because I didn't even finish it. The reason why I had to stop playing it was because I got soft locked. The menu just wouldn't appear, so I couldn't make any progress. But you're this dude that gets you don't get fired from job, you leave your job because you're in an abusive workplace, and you're like, oh wow, I have no job, and you stumble upon this maid cafe with this one maid who used to be owned by a guy that left a little while ago and has not returned, and now it's like, okay, find maids to hire, and basically manage a maid. And it's not just like they're working for you, you're also working as somebody that's in the cafe. You're just not in a maid outfit. And the music in this game was amazing. The writing in this game is really funny. There's a moment in the game where the first maid that you meet goes on like a diatribe about how this niche arcade game that she likes grew into like a big kind of like spun off into different media franchises, like through an anime and I think also a manga as well, and how it's gonna get big one day. It's not yet, but I know it'll go there. And I just felt like, okay, I could really relate to that experience, because I've had some things that I was really into back in like middle school still not be as big, but there is the dedicated community that still shows a lot of appreciation towards it. I think this game is really cute in that sense. Another game
from the trailer, it looks like a very in-depth kind of game. It has the whole gachapon system for collectibles.
Yeah, you can. There's like a little store that you can just go to, like could do collectibles.
Mm-hmm. Looks cute.
If the demo is available, I'd say play it. It seems like it's a pretty long demo. I got it in 69 minutes, and then I got soft locked. So, and
Nice.
and when I was checking the discussion pages, there was things that I did not even get to yet. So I'm like, okay, this might be like maybe a 2-hour, 3-hour long demo, which I don't even know how you're supposed to save your data if you can. There wasn't a prompt about that anywhere in the game, so hopefully it autosaved if I ever decide to go back to it. So outside of that, I've been kind of circling through games because I don't completely know what I want to dedicate much of my time to. Kingdom Hearts just came out on Steam. I bought all of it, and I am like very slowly making progress to Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix. It was a game that I had as a kid, but my copy I got from one of my uncles, and that copy was already scratched up. So by the time I got to the first world, which I chose as Tarzan, the game just wouldn't progress anymore because it was so scratched up. So I've never actually played KH1. I've just watched the cutscenes. And that's how I continued the series from there. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm playing everything else that I could, and I just never played through KH1, and now I'm actually trying to do that. But because I've downloaded so many games, I'm kind of like, oh, I do want to, give a lot of time to the games that I now have available thanks to Steam Families. So I put everything in a little wheel, and I just rolled it, and I started playing like Marble It Up for like a good maybe 30 minutes. I played what was it? I tried to play Katamari Damacy Reroll. I couldn't figure out how to get it in full screen, and the audio was super loud. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this another day. Um, there was I'm doing another playthrough of Hi-Fi Rush that I just started last night, and I've been playing Daemon X Machina again. And if you may not be aware of this, for the people that have been following us, if that I did do a review of Daemon X Machina back when it came out in 2019. That was only on that was only on the website, and also because at that time, my Switch was horribly broken in the sense that the Joy-Con rail broke, so I couldn't really attach my Joy-Con to it, and the fan was broken. So if I tried to put it on the dock and record any footage, it would overheat in like 20 minutes to 10 minutes tops, depending on the game. So we never did a video review for that. I've done a video on my own channel about Daemon X Machina and my feelings towards the ending, but a full dedicated review has never been done for the channel. It's if you want to check out my initial review thoughts from Daemon X Machina about Daemon X Machina, it's on the website for you to check out. But I still love that game immensely. And I actually, I think it was last year, I did a speedrun of it. And because not many people have speedrun Daemon X Machina, I am the third fastest Daemon X Machina player.
Yo, that's my goal.
So
Three.
I'm top 3 in the world. Hopefully, maybe somebody could easily steal that place. But essentially, I've been
leaving it out there now. You've challenged everyone.
Yeah, I've been playing the game because like part of me is like I'm taking like mental notes of like, okay, you can't once you like get like your left auxiliary weapon that shoots out missiles, you don't need to go to the hangar in order to re-equip it. It's gonna be automatically be equipped. So I'm like taking notes of like, oh, if I wanted to play the game faster, what things to keep in mind of. And like there's like for controls, because every time you start a new game, your controls reset. It's allowed for you to take the settings file that is within the game's files and put it to the side, and then when you're doing a new game to put it in, so that way you don't have to waste time changing your controls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm basically taking notes because I think I want to speedrun it again. I think my speedrun time was 4 hours, maybe 5 or 4 hours. I think
pretty good. What's the average time to beat it?
The average time, like average
how
play
long
time in general.
If you want speedrunning it, if you're just playing it normally.
From my time, I think I remember it being like 25 hours.
Oh damn.
So like if you just
beat it for, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, if you just blow through the cutscenes, don't focus on like any of the kind of customization or anything at all, it can be pretty much done in like, I think the shortest time currently is like 3 hours, something like that. And there are little things that can help you, like, so when they added multiplayer stages, missions to the game, you can do those without actually getting a group together. And in those multiplayer / exploration stages, you can get stronger weapons that you could then just easily take over to the main game, and that can really help blow through like basically the beginning of the game, a lot of the beginning of the game very easily. So that helps with a lot of time. There's also a weapon that's hidden in a gargoyle within like one of the first stages as well. That is like the super strong sword that can basically carry you throughout the entire game. But because it's a melee weapon, that also means you're gonna have to get close and personal, which can still lead to seeing you deaf if your arsenal isn't well equipped with like defense and stuff like that. But yeah, I love Daemon X Machina. But the actual game that I spent some time with, I think it was yesterday. Was a game called Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and
I've heard of this.
It is, I believe, Annapurna. And I believe it is also the developers, I want to say, of Sayonara Wild Hearts. I think.
Yes, I think so. I think I remember when it was announced.
And so the only Resident Evil game I've played is Resident Evil Revelations 2. And from at least what I've seen of Resident Evil, at least like, Resident Evil 1, the remake, this feels like what I imagined that game to be, but like without the just killing zombies and all that stuff. There are puzzles for you to solve. There are documents for you to check. The game even advises you, hey, keep a pen and paper close to you, because there's going to be a lot of things for you to take note of, to constantly go back to. And luckily, within the game, thankfully, within the game, any document that you see, you will take a mental note of it literally within the game. So once you go to the menu, you can see every single document, every single note, every single sheet of paper, every single map just in the menu. And thank God the game does that. One downside of the game though is that every button does the same thing. So you actually have to, when you're navigating the menus and stuff, you have to actually go to the closeout button. You can't just press B and exit. It's annoying, but it's whatever. There's a lot of puzzles. There's a lot, and you're able to like walk around the entire house, the entire mansion, hotel that you're essentially going to be staying at, before you actually trigger the instance where the main guy that talks to you to progress everything happens. So like you can pretty much find like, hey, where you need to go later on before you get to it, and that immediately made my interest in the game soar incredibly high. I've only spent like an hour in it so far, I think 79 minutes, and I didn't want to stop because I didn't want to forget anything, but I also feel like this, because it has so many puzzles, has so many like quizzes, so many questions and stuff like that, kind of do need to take your time with it, even though it does seem pretty short, because you can get to like, I think within that 1 hour I get to like 17% collected already. So it seems like it's short, but it's still very dense, and it could be the case that that's just like you can beat the game without getting 100% completion. That's what my assumption. So
yeah, I mean, 79 hours is longer.
No, 79 minutes. My bad. 79 minutes.
Sorry. No, sorry. It was 79 minutes is longer than all of Sayonara Wild Hearts. So.
Oh wow.
So like it being around this length, like that, this fits with the developers, with how long their games tend to last.
Okay. Which I have to play Sayonara Wild Hearts as well.
Yeah. It's worth it. It's like a really fun evening.
That's okay. That's good. But now here's kind of the part of like what I've been doing lately that I can't really show because copyright will literally kill us if I do that.
Yep.
So I've been over at my partner's house a lot, and one of the things that we like to do together is watch TV together. So last night, like the other night we were watching season 18 of Kitchen Nightmares. Not Kitchen Nightmares, Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen. Really, because we watched part of it before, but the entire season 18 wasn't out for some reason. So we just watched. We actually were watching through it. It was very fun to see the veterans versus rookies season.
What even is the difference between Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares?
Kitchen Nightmares is when Gordon Ramsay goes to different kitchens that are having issues and tries to help them resolve their issues. By like through new menu.
Different restaurants.
Oh yeah. He goes to different restaurants, not kitchens. Kitchens. He doesn't just go to the kitchen. He goes to the restaurant, right? And that's like where the whole Amy's Baking, if you remember that thing. Yeah. That's that show. Whereas Hell's Kitchen is a competition show where he is challenging different cooks, different chefs actually at his Hell's Kitchen, and then only one can end up being his executive chef at a Hell's Kitchen, whichever Hell's Kitchen that they are having the competition at.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen's the one that's been on for a lot longer, hasn't it? I feel like a Gordon Ramsay competition has been something that's been I've seen like 2 decades ago.
So there's 2 Gordon Ramsay's cook competition shows. It's a junior show though. I don't remember. It's like with kids cooking. I don't remember the name of it, but it's also just as entertaining. But it's like, of course, he's not cursing at the kids, so you get to see like the father side of Gordon Ramsay. We were watching that. We watched a new show on Paramount Plus called Elsbeth. I don't remember the creators, but I remember that I do know that it is like a married duo creation team that created the show, and it is about this lawyer, the previous, I believe, civil lawyer or a criminal lawyer that is now in New York City, and she is supposed to be watching over the police to ensure that they are doing the right thing and also making write-ups of when they're doing the wrong thing, and then of course take them to court for that. However, as much as I've seen of the show so far, and the entire season 1 is out on Paramount Plus, it is her getting involved in the crimes and basically looking into the case in a very kind of cartoonish way that it's very obvious when the police are like, it's the case is clearly solved. This person did it, and then she actually was like, hey, no, this doesn't make sense because if this woman fell out the window, why would she? If she just fell out, on accident, wouldn't she be on her back? But she's laid face down or something like, or it's something like that, and then it's basically her against the police oftentimes, except this one officer that she has with her. That's basically essentially like her Watson. Yeah, Watson's a sidekick.
Yeah,
basically like her Watson, and it's really entertaining, really engaging. It is the best way I can describe it is like SpongeBob or Bessie Higginbottom in a crime show. And when I say Bessie Higginbottom, yes, I am talking about Nickelodeon's The Mighty Bee. So it is actually that is pretty much it's pretty much she's like Bessie Higginbottom, except a little bit more of a human being and not a crazy psychotic Girl Scout. There was that. I watched an episode of Cheers for the first time in Italian. It really made the show feel a lot different rather than hearing English voices. I actually didn't like how it felt like I was, even though of course it is American, but hearing it in a different language didn't make me think of it didn't make me think of the laugh track, or it didn't make me think of in the way that people communicate in English, or at least maybe what they would have communicated like back then. I was examining more of like the attitudes of the characters and the demeanors of how like they sit or how they like respond to one another. So watching it in a different language like that just really made it stand out in a different way for me. Not that the English voices or English, I guess. Yeah, I guess English voices, I'll say. The English voices was bad. It was just that we were like, hey, let's do this. And it was really fun to just try it. And then big thing to cap off, I saw Furiosa, a Mad Max story in theaters.
How was it?
The movie was fine. And I don't say that as in I didn't really enjoy it, but because I've never saw anything Mad Max related, this was kind of it was a stepping point into something that I know is established, but I had no idea about. So there were like small things that would have caught on to somebody who did watch like the previous Mad Max movie, the Mad Max Fury Road. But to me, I didn't get it because I just didn't have the prior knowledge. But most of the film was really enjoyable. Unfortunately, the theater experience was complete garbage. I'll talk about the movie first. Mm-hmm. I believe it's Anne Taylor-Joy.
She's Furiosa.
Anne Taylor-Joy, and I kept thinking it was that the other big character who is I think his name was it Lord Dementius or Lord Dementia? But Big D, basically. I call him Big D because as I was watching it, there's this guy, Big D, and Furiosa is this girl that he is, let's say, air quotes, taken care of because her mother died. And he calls her Little D. And as I'm watching throughout the entire movie, I'm like, this is what Adventure Time was referencing when Finn goes to Farm World and they have Big D, the guy with the red hair, the glass, the 90s glass, the 80s glasses, and Fiona and Cake, he has his daughter Little D. And after I see the movie, it turns out, no, this is something completely new. Adventure Time did not reference this. It's just a happenstance coincidence. Yeah. But I kept thinking that Big D was played by Jason Momoa. It's not. The guy from Aquaman. It's not him.
Yeah.
It's Thor.
Oh,
Chris Hemsworth.
That character, yeah.
Yeah. So like the entire time I'm like,
Hemsworth.
that's not Jason Momoa. Wait, I mean that's Jason Momoa, right? And it's like, no, that's Chris Hemsworth. I'm like, oh, they look alike. And then my friend
exactly like Thor in that movie. I wasn't, because I've not seen it, so I wasn't sure who you were referring to when you said Big D. But like, I've seen the trailers. Chris Hemsworth just looks like Thor in that movie.
Okay, I maybe because I haven't seen that many Marvel movies, they look alike. Especially in Furiosa, because everything is brown. And because Jason Momoa kind of has like a tan, it makes Chris Hemsworth look like he has a tan. So they look very similar, even though the hair color was very different. In retrospect, yeah. And Chris Hemsworth, like the shape of the facial hair is very different. But I don't watch that much live action stuff, so it's very easy for me to mistake two actors as being the same person. Movie was really good though. I think, of course, as they were the titled actors, they absolutely stole with their performances. Chris Hemsworth especially was very over the top, very demented as his character. It was fun to see him fail and succeed and get revenge constantly. Like when somebody crosses him, he literally goes into the wastelands hunting them down for whatever happens. And because it's basically like him and Furiosa versing off each other essentially. It is then like constantly going back and forth, and it is so fun. Furiosa as well. I would say that Anya Taylor-Joy has really big eyes, and I don't say that as an insult at all. What I mean from that, the reason why I focus on that is because the character that she's playing is a character that, in a sense, has been traumatized, and traumatized at an early age. And when you're traumatized at an early age, you know, like seeing people die and all that stuff, you know, in these wastelands, you still are holding on to the fact that this character is fighting back for, you know, that their innocence, their childhood that they lost. So the combination of her big eyes, but also like the tattered clothing or the face paint or like her robotic arm that she get. Oh shit! Wait, I shouldn't.
mean, they're pretty sure that's in the trailer.
Oh, okay. The robotic arm that she gets.
And isn't Furiosa like a prequel to the last
it is.
Mad Max movie?
It is.
Yeah.
The robotic arm that she gets, it builds for like a character design as well as the character as well, all fitting together really well. I think Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, even though she doesn't talk for most of it, the way that she is dressed, the way that her makeup is done, like everything about the way that she looks and presents herself as like a fierce warrior, I guess, writer going out for vengeance, it is done incredibly well. So it's a pretty fun movie that got soured due to a very poor theater experience. I'll try to keep this short because we're about like already an hour in still on what we played or what we watched. But basically the showcase near my friend's house closed. The Showcase Cinemas, and a new theater took it over. A new company owns it now called Apple Cinemas. And no, it's not Apple iPhone, it's just some place called Apple Cinemas. And the theater is pretty much the same. And of course, only management has changed. But if management sucks, then the theater ends up sucking. So, first off, we bought our ticket early ahead of time. So when we spent some time in the mall, we come back, and I don't know how it is over there. I assume that it's going to be the same. But when you get your ticket, there's usually a stub person that, you know, rips it apart, gives you your side of the ticket, and they take their side of the ticket as like, you know, like archival or whatever. There was no person there. So if we wanted to, we could have just literally walked in the theater and not have had to pay. But, you know, we're doing the right thing. We go to concession stand. And also, by the way, this is on Juneteenth. So this is a holiday as well. Mm-hmm. It's not packed, but there's still a lot of people where you have, on both concession stands, there's one for snacks and one for food, only one register open. And now you have a line of people at the snack concession stand. And our movie is about to start in 15 minutes. And we didn't get into the theater until like 3:40, 3:45. And our movie started at 3:30. So we missed like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. And not only that, I had to go back to actually get our food because our food was going to take 15 minutes to make. So when I come back to get the food, they give me these 2 metal like prison trays that his food is on. And I have to carry both metal trays back to the theater, where then I remember, oh wait, the door's closed. And I also have my sodas on top of the trays. How am I gonna open the door? So for like a good 5 minutes, I'm fiddling with the door as my friend's drink is spilling out. Her Coke is spilling out. Like half of her soda spilling out onto her fries. And also with the fries, I had to ask specifically to have cheese put on the fries because they have a menu option that says, hey, you can get cheese on your fries. But any food that you order also just has fries come with it naturally, which they don't say on the menu. So it's like, okay, if you want the fries with cheese on them, you gotta have to order that separately. Instead of just saying, hey, on the fries that's going to come with my meal, so I don't have to pay for extra fries, can I just have cheese on that? And thankfully, the guy that was that was doing the food just happily was able to do it. He didn't care. But in regards to my friend's chili cheese fries, she just had it in little cups on the side where it was cold. And then once I get to the theater and actually sit down, I'm realizing, hey, wait, the theater isn't even clean because there's a paper bag and a Snapple at my stand on my like seat count on like my seat table or whatever. There's still stuff on the floor, and also all the theaters, all the actual rooms that they're playing movies in, most of them are inside out too. Like Inside Out 2 has the most showings there.
Oh right, and the movie Inside Out 2. I thought you were saying the cinema room was inside
No, that'd be horrible.
What does that mean?
No, there was only like maybe 8 movies showing there, but all like there's like 13 to 15 theaters inside. My bad, 15 rooms for showings inside, and 60% of those are Inside Out. And the rest of those is like not Challengers, because Challengers is a movie that we wanted to see, but it wasn't there at the theater. It was Furiosa, obviously there was Bad Boys, it was The Strangers Chapter 1, something like that, and the Garfield movie, which I still haven't seen and I want to see it. Yeah, it was just a really bad theater experience. That was the worst theater experience I've ever had, but granted, like it could also be way worse. At least I did get to see the movie. I remember one time I went to go see The Fault in Our Stars years ago when it came out in theaters, and they started playing How to Train Your Dragon 2. it was really strange. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've played / watched over this past what's it been like 2 weeks or a week since the last Good Morning Swiss Gaming?
Yeah, it was like beginning of June because we had 2 this month.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
So I do not know why people buy food at the cinema and not just bring food in with them from outside.
Well,
I don't get it.
Are you allowed to do that over there?
Every time I mean, originally you weren't allowed to, but like they're legally not allowed to check your stuff. So everyone does. Like if you put something in your bag, they're legally not allowed to open your bag and check.
So, in my experience, I have seen people get their bags checked at movie theaters.
Yeah, this used to happen back in like the 90s.
No, I mean like
in the year 2000.
I mean like in the 20s. In the 2020s, I've seen that happen, or like maybe at least in like late 2010s, like 2018, maybe I saw that happen. Which is why, like, granted, some people you still do it. You might not get caught, but I have seen people get their bags checked sometimes at theaters. Maybe because it's been really obvious, but I've never had it happen to me. So, but in this instance, because I wasn't hungry prior, that's why we got food there. And I knew that I would want theater food that I couldn't actually get anywhere that was close by. Like the closest thing that we could have gotten was Five Guys. And I'm not gonna put a Five Guys burger in my book bag. That's no, everything in there would be greased up. That I can't do that. So
wouldn't go to Five Guys anyway. Would rather starve.
Well, have you ever been to Five Guys?
I don't like Five Guys. It's disgusting.
They have free peanuts, so it's worth something.
Part of the problem.
Wait, what's wrong with peanuts? You don't like peanuts?
I can't have peanuts.
Are you allergic?
Yes.
Oh shit! Damn, you're missing out.
That's why Five Guys sucks ass. I don't think I'm missing out because it smells disgusting.
Oh wow! I did not know that. All right, new. If we have a Source Gaming wiki, do Nance injects
allergic to peanuts.
Allergic to peanuts. Wait, so you wouldn't kill Diddy Kong?
No,
Why
I
not?
wouldn't kill Diddy Kong. Because he has a peanut gun, that's true. He could lethally kill. It'd be easier for him to kill me.
Yeah, so why not stop him before he stops you?
Because why am I on Diddy Kong's bad side?
Well,
like, he's a good little monkey.
How often have you fought against Diddy Kong in Smash Brothers?
I play as Diddy Kong in Smash Brothers. He's my friend. All right, okay. Let's get on to I guess the main topics. We had 3 topics to talk about. I don't really know which one to start with. Should we start with the
I say
probably
we could. It would maybe best to start with the limited run games showcase. Most importantly, Gex, because we can talk about the the Nintendo Direct, and then we can either do leakers and then go to Nintendo Direct. But either way, they kind of segue into one another.
Order. Yeah, and gotcha. Colin's just showed up in the chat right for the limited run games portion of this.
Hey, Colin. Bye, Colin.
I'm really confused by the limited run games announcement. Yeah. Because they announced that they were like, first when I saw the announcements, I was like, okay, cool. Gex is still coming this year. They're now doing Bubsy as well, which I don't know why they did the trailer in the exact same style that Gex did the trailer in. It makes sense.
I think it's just because they're lazy. They couldn't come up with a different idea. It doesn't make any sense for Bubsy.
No, it doesn't.
And also, I hate the idea that now Bubsy is permanently associated with a Gex, because as funny as Gex is, Gex's games are not bad.
No,
Bubsy's games are all bad.
Yeah, they're just both 90s platform mascots. So like, I'm guessing that's like the only connection. And I guess they thought, oh well, Bubsy is lame, so we can like do this parody intro thing that's like kind of like Gex's, but it won't be as cool because it's Bubsy. And it will be awkward at the end. Like it's just weird. It was just very bizarre.
Having Bubsy as an end announcement is also very strange in general, because it's like, it's if you're a person who who really likes video games, and then watches people play video game reviews, Bubsy is one of like the most what's called infamous. Is infamous like where you're famous before a bad reason? Yeah. Infamous like mascot platform characters ever. Why would you want people are going to be excited about that if like they actually happen to really like Bubsy, or they'll think it's funny in an ironic sense. Not because
that's why they did it. It's an ironic announcement. And was Gex in the limited run game showcase? I didn't actually watch it. I only saw the announcements. They
showed,
the fact.
I believe, footage of they showed footage of it at some point. I would try to find that.
Is it right at the beginning?
What is that? That's
at
not
beginning.
Gex. Or is it?
Because I was like,
I meant they showed the Gex promo at the beginning.
Oh no, they showed Gex gameplay actually through the show too. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because I'm like, if you're sitting there waiting for Gex gameplay, and then they pulled that stint with Bubsy at the end, and there was no actual Gex gameplay in the limited run showcase, then I'd almost sort of get it, in that like people are waiting for Gex, thinking that's going to be the big end game announcement, and then they do a Banjo-Kazooie in Smash Brothers kind of reveal where it's like, it wasn't Gex, it was Bubsy. But no, look, I just saw Gex Trilogy show up there, so
there it is.
They did have it in there, so that just ignored me. But the thing I don't get about this is that in their like press release or whatever, they talk about how like these games will only be released physically, and like
what?
That's not true.
That's not true, because like some of the games they then list are like Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition and Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, and I'm like, there's no way that these games are only going to be released physically. Like, Ubisoft didn't do an anniversary edition of Beyond Good and Evil and then only give it to limited run to do.
The only physical way that I could think they meant that is that only limited run games is publishing the physical version, whereas like the digital version would be published by like their appropriate publisher. But even then, it's still confusing.
That would make sense for like Beyond Good and Evil and Shantae Advance if Way Forward is doing that themselves digitally. But what does it mean for all these games made in the Carbon engine like Gex? Because as far as I know, those are only being done by limited run games.
So
right?
Well,
like they've been exclusively around the announcements for these games.
so yeah, limited run games is doing Gex, even though it's still Square Enix property. They are doing the Carbon engine. They are publishing it through the usage of making this collection possible through the usage of the Carbon engine. But there already is a precedent that the Carbon engine games are also available digitally, thanks to River City Girls 0, which was the first. I believe that was the first project that used Carbon engine. These are also, I believe, you already see that it says Steam right there, so that means okay, it is coming
true,
digitally.
Yeah.
It's already been stated that Shantae Advance is coming digitally. I believe it's coming. It's coming before the actual physical. I don't remember. It's either coming before physical or it's actually coming after the physical. Don't remember which, but it is coming digitally.
I think it's coming after the physical. I
Yeah,
think they
that
want to
might be
release
the
it
case.
physically on because that's the thing. The physical for Shantae is only on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it's like it really is a Game Boy Advance.
So
I don't, and I think Clock in that press release also said Clock Tower is coming.
Yeah, Clock
like,
Tower
it's only
as
gonna be
well.
physical, but no, that's not true. It's also digital. So I don't know if that was just a misexplanation and wording in sense of like, oh, only limited run games is doing the physical, as in we're only releasing it physical, but it is going to be digital through like Sunsoft Publishing, Clock Tower, Reclocked or whatever.
Well, because this is the thing. Because then later on in the press release, they talk about how like games like Double Shake and Fear Effect are being set to release digitally and physically, and it's like, why is there this distinction then?
Is limited run game publishing like Double Shake digitally?
Like, I don't know. I don't actually know what Double Shake is, to be honest. It's just
so
one
do you
listed.
if my memory serves correctly, do you remember this is a long time ago, like this is when I first joined the team. Do you remember a game called Wonder Wickets?
Yes.
I believe that is that team's game.
Oh, okay. I thought they were making something else. I thought they were working on the two. I mean, art style wise, it does look, because I'm just looking up, and actually I did see the trailer for this. It kind of looks like Klonoa, Tomba, Mischief Makers kind of successor, based on everything I saw from everything I remember from the trailer.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, it kind of is like Klonoa. At least the screenshot I've seen of Klonoa, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is made by the Wonder Wickets people. Why did I think that there was someone else? Because, like, obviously, we did a review of Wonder Wickets, didn't we?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago. Yeah,
it is one of those games that I kind of want to go back to and re-review. To be completely honest, I feel like I could do so much better job now.
I should check this up because for some reason I thought we got Wonder Wickets through a publisher who we'd done a few games with already, but I can't find a publisher listed. So, and I thought that publisher was releasing a 2D platformer. I'll look it up later.
Gotcha.
No, I actually think Double Shake looks quite good.
Yeah.
But,
I have the demo on my account and I haven't played it yet.
But yeah, they've just been really weird with their announcements, and I know it's limited run games, and they're always like this, and their priority is to push their physical only agenda. But I don't like the idea of them like the only way of being able to play Gex on modern hardware is through a limited run game's physical.
Yeah. If
like,
that was the case, that would like incredibly run against their idea of preservation, which already
but they're
depending on your perspective, limited run games already is like, doesn't really do that well for the idea of preservation if it's limited.
And I feel like they use preservation as like an excuse to try and justify what they're doing, even though it doesn't make any sense that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they're in the business of FOMO.
Yeah.
I try to be very careful with my criticism of them because they have received a lot of criticism, deservedly so. A lot of that criticism, of course, as usual with the internet, turns into harassment. So I don't. I try to be very careful because there is a video. There's a video basically that I believe the guy that's in the showcase, he has an interview where he's talking about his experience with people that have harassed him, and I of course don't want him to experience that, and I'm not saying that we would direct that towards him. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. That our criticism does that as well. It's just it does feel a little bit difficult to talk about because that can accidentally get viewed a certain way by, of course, our criticism wants to be heard by the people that are in those positions where they could take the criticism and then do something about it. Don't want them to perceive it as like a side of blind hate or anything. I feel like they would be able to produce a lot more copies of games where they don't need to be limited if they stopped relying so much on this external merchandise, like like you want to do a vinyl for the soundtrack. Okay, sure, maybe, I guess. The Switch cases or like pins or like these huge bundle limited edition versions of the game that they sell. If that is money that is coming out a lot of their pockets, I feel like that's something that you should refrain from doing, because that money could go to a lot more copies, even though the case of, hey, we're still gonna take a long time for these copies to ship out. Okay, if that can't be helped, I guess, because you do them made to order, fine. But people do want to be able to buy these games physically.
Yeah, well, it's started off as being collector's items for people who are fans of these games, and having a physical edition was just a part of it.
Yeah, especially like when they started out, I think it was more niche games or something like that.
Yeah,
but now that's not just niche games anymore.
Yeah, and it's now that the fact that like I would be okay with this if I knew that Gex and Tomba and Clock Tower we do know, but are all coming separately, and then limited run games were the only people doing the physical. Like, fine, whatever, it's still available digitally. It's the fact that they keep trying to push it as if it's not digitally, and like I just checked, and there's no Gex Trilogy isn't up on Steam. And what Tomba? I'm gonna check for Tomba actually, because Tomba
just might not be on Steam yet. Because the trailer does literally say that it's going to be on Steam. So
yeah, okay. Tomba's Special Edition does have a Steam page.
Oh, okay.
So that's good. Although actually, on the topic of Tomba, I do want to say that I find it really strange that it's not Tomba 1 and 2. Like when they announced it back. When they announced that they were bringing Tomba over last year, right. I just sort of assumed it was both games because Gex is all 3.
Yeah.
So I thought, why is Tomba only having to come as 2 separate games? With Tomba 2 being an entire year away.
I guess Gex Trilogy was announced all at the same time as just being a trilogy collection, whereas Tomba, I guess.
Yeah, but my point is, why didn't they?
Why do it that way? Why do it that way in the first place? You mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I can't give you that answer.
It has to do with rights acquisitions. They probably didn't buy the rights to both games.
That could be
because, but they announced the first game, and then there was interest for the second game, so they got the second game.
That could very much be the case.
That feels reasonable.
Yeah, if the rights are sort of messed up, I guess. Because I just they went through the trouble of getting all 3 Gex games from Square Enix at the same time to put them on, and they're doing it with Bubsy and I guess Atari. Are they the ones who own Bubsy?
Yeah,
Atari.
Bubsy.
Yeah,
Bubsy.
Yeah, it's their Atari on the thing. Okay. I just find it weird that they wouldn't then do the same thing for Gex, for Tomba. Sorry. But whatever, I guess. Yeah, I just wish, because I like a lot of the games that, they announced. And I totally get, why, bringing some of these back. I just find it really weird how they've gone about announcing them in just the weird limited run games way.
It also bothers me especially when publishers that have the ability to do physicals choose not to do them and instead do limited run games, because now it's okay, well, the physicals really are going to be limited. It's not these physicals are going to be for however long, and then eventually at a certain point they'll stop making them. It's that no, we're making some and then we're not making any more, and that's the whole gimmick. And for a Persona 4 or Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3 Golden, or now CR Smash and Penny's Big Breakaway, I would like those physicals to just be made if by just be made and not be limited. I want to be able to walk into a store at any point and pick it up, not have to specifically walk into a Best Buy and then hope that it's there.
I would assume though that in like many of these cases, like the Penny's Big Breakaway guys just didn't have the funding to do
that. Okay,
themselves.
yeah, I had a Penny to work because it's gonna pop up in a second, but that's like on my mind. I wish that game wasn't limited run games published as well. But what I mean is that for like Sega or Atlas or even SNK, I wish these companies publish their games themselves physically rather than going to limited run games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, totally. Oh well, I think in some cases though, I think we wouldn't be getting Gex Trilogy without limited run games.
Yeah,
and we wouldn't get anything made in the Carbon engine. We just wouldn't be getting without them. So
if it's in like Carbon engine, I feel like that's different because that's literally limited run, literally putting the work to make these games available on modern hardware.
Yeah.
I respect that aspect. That's really cool.
Limited run is weird because like on the surface, they're like a good service for what they say in concept.
Right.
I think they've gotten too big and can't fulfill what they're promising anymore. And I don't know how reasonable it is for them to be able to expand their employee base to be able to actually deliver what they can, because they've been shipping games that literally don't work, and generally just not fulfilling the promises that they set out, especially in recent year, and that's gotta change.
yeah,
I don't know anything about company structure or anything like that, but when they got bought out by Embracer, my thought was gonna be, oh, they don't have to make their games be limited anymore.
Oh no,
that has not changed so far.
That's not gonna change.
Yeah,
that's
so
their
it's
entire
like,
gimmick.
I would much rather
they
be that
turn
they'd be able to have that.
into just a general publisher and like a publisher that focuses specifically on bringing older games back or like more niche pop culture games back, like they're doing with the Toxic Crusaders and Ninja 5.0 and the Rugrats game that's coming out. Like, I would love it if they were a publisher just focused on that, but their whole MO, I mean, it's in their name, it's about doing limited run of games. So I just don't think on a conceptual level they'll ever change that.
Oh well.
Speaking of games given just this on the screen right now, Beyond Good and Evil, funniest announcement that they're adding in a new mission that will tie it into a game that will never release. Funny stuff.
Oh, right. Oh, wait, Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Yeah.
That's a thing. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they announced that there's going to be an extra mission added to this remastered version that will tie it into Beyond Good and Evil 2, and I'm just like, there's no fucking way that game's still real. There's no way that game still exists.
in the development hell it is in right now. Yeah, that's where it exists.
Yeah. Does that make it like the longest? If that game actually does release, will it be the longest vaporware title ever?
How long was Skull and Bones?
I mean, definitely longer than Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like, you have to remember, Beyond Good and Evil 2 was like announced for the Xbox 360.
Wait, what? It was?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought it was announced for like Xbox One, like maybe like 2017 or something.
So it was announced in 2008.
What the?
And that's when the first teaser trailer dropped.
I did not know that. That's
in 2022. It broke the record held by Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh wow!
There we go. I was wondering if that had happened yet.
Yeah.
God damn.
So yeah, it's we'll see if the game still requires the internet to be connected at all times to play it, like Ubisoft said it would in 2018. Man, this game is funny.
Very strange.
Anyway, I think that's everything about limited run games I wanted to get off my chest. Shall we talk about leaker stuff then?
Yeah, let's do that.
That's a big community news, isn't it? The leakers are gone. Both of them, Midori
Thank
and
God.
Pure. I agree. I think like I've obviously with Source Gaming we've been following leaks and rumors and been involved in some leaks and rumors for eons now. But and Midori and Pura had a very successful track record, but I feel like I had issues with both of them in how they presented their stories.
Yeah.
Like Puro's
Uh,
was always accurate, but it was always came like a couple days before the official announcement. It just kind of took the wind out of the sails for those announcements.
Right.
I'm more
Even
sympathetic to Pioro because it doesn't seem like there was ill intent,
no,
unlike the other one. But
I mean I don't. I don't. It's hard to say with what's ill intent. I mean, they're not. I'm not going to defend Midori. They're not a good person based on everything we've heard.
yeah,
But I feel I still get the impression that both of them did it for clout reasons.
oh yeah, probably.
Like I mean, Puro almost because I think the thing at the start is Puro had the similar vibe to Silex Hunter, where they were an insider that only existed to out all the fake insiders that Twitter likes to breed. Like Silex Hunter literally was just an insider that existed to dunk on Samus Hunter for being a really bad fake insider. And it feels like Puro was doing the same thing for Markamaro, who just refuses to go away even though nobody cares about them. But it just sort of evolved, I think, over time to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then yeah, obviously Midori behind scenes was not a very good person, and I think I've just kind of had it. I was already sick of both of them for like months at this point. I did find Midori's codename leaks interesting. I think I was like one of the only few people who did find it interesting because it kind of gave something to speculate on a bit more.
Yeah, it wasn't just a flat out, this is what you're getting.
Yeah, which is what Puro was kind of was basically just like, this is going to be in the direct, this is going to be in the direct, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like they spoil Endless Ocean being there, and another code. In fact, Puro also spoiled that another code was going to be in the direct, and those are both things that I would have like absolutely popped off on if I harder, because I did pop off on another code because I didn't believe Puro at the time. But would have popped off harder had I not had any hints at that going into it. But like, yeah, with even Midori's like Sega and Persona rumors and leaks, I didn't really get the point of them because it's just like, yes, Persona 6 will be coming in 3 years, and it's like,
No shit.
okay. Whoa, they're making a new Persona game? Who'd have thunk it?
I wonder why. Why would they make a new Persona game? I'm of a mindset where, especially my mindset in general has kind of shifted from being younger to now working at Source Gaming, where before I was like, oh, leaks are like things where, you know, the Korokoro leaks happened. We know what Pokemon is going to be announced before they get announced in America, because Pokemon games used to come out in Japan first. That doesn't happen anymore. And then it was just kind of like rumors mostly that I would hear. And then once I got into Source Gaming, it actually was, oh shit, no, this leaking shit is serious. And this is that. There are people that actually sometimes just happen to know that that Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu Let's Go Eevee is going to be a thing like 6 months or like a few months before it ever gets announced. How the hell does that even happen? Or like the entire Smash roster just getting like Smash Ultimate's roster, the everyone is here got leaked the night before it happened, but nobody noticed. Like shit like that happening. And it's just like, whoa, how do you people even get this information? And it's one thing, I'm of two perspectives. If you are a leaker, in the sense of that you are a journalist that is sharing information about a leak in the sense of like Microsoft's document leak where it got booked, like Project Brooklyn about the all digital Xbox, Xbox Series X or whatever, or was it like their initial schedule of all these games that were going to come out completely getting shifted, not just by COVID but just of delays and internal delays and stuff like that. I think those kind of leaks are very informative. Even always going to be very careful with this one because the Nintendo Giga leak that happened, that unfortunately includes like developers' personal information. So of course that is something where it's like there is a lot of valuable information from an artistic side that is from a artistic and historical side that is within that. However, there's also a lot of damage that can be done with that. Even if that, no matter how old that information is, sometimes that information can still be consistent and relevant. That is always going to be very harmful. And also, it is kind of, I also do agree in the mindset as well as that if people don't want their artwork leaked, even if it is from a publisher, if the workers themselves are not comfortable with that being leaked, because it would be like, oh, that's an idea that I could have wanted to use later in the future, something that we would have wanted to go to later in the future that we want nothing to do with at all whatsoever. As I also feel like you are entitled to not want that to get leaked. And doing that on a journalistic side is one thing. I feel like there's a lot more integrity there, where like like for instance, Laura Kate Dale, who around the time that the Switch was happening, she had some leaks, but she's also a journalist as well. In that instance, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like that person is doing it for clout. Whereas like 4chan leakers or Twitter leakers, 4chan leakers are usually anonymous, so it's like doesn't really matter, but they are getting something out of it by having their post getting a lot of replies and stuff. Twitter leakers especially though, I feel like even though as fun as the information could be to find out early, especially depending on how early like Jet Set Radio leak that happened, it is I really wish people wouldn't do it at all, because like you're stating, it takes the wind out of the announcements when they do happen. And the reality is that you just shouldn't be leaking. It's just like it's something that you should not be doing. And I think that form of leaking is one that actually it's harmful to the announcements themselves. It becomes harmful to the leakers themselves because they keep putting themselves in these situations where they get kind of grandstandy with the fact that they have this source that's really coming from somebody else, that is likely coming from somebody else whose job is going to be hurt at the end of the day by their own stupid actions. And then we potentially have seen, or at least people believe that we have seen instances where, hey, we now know that person got fired or something, or some person's job is in harm. And when you're leaking, it kind of like that is what you're doing. You are a person in the chain that is essentially being like a leak in the pipe where that pipe is still somebody's job. And once that pipe is going to get replaced, and that person essentially loses their job, and that's really kind of fucked up. That's the way that I end up viewing it. Oftentimes when it comes to like the leaking situation that we've been seeing here, it's like these people are getting grandstandy with it. They end up. Granted, though, people that also engage in the receiving the information about it do seem to get very parasocial with it, especially in the Midori case. They got really crazy, where people are now interested in people were interested in their like personal romantic life, and what so difficult
That's
to talk
what
about.
happens when
It's
you
so difficult to talk about.
when you
God.
pretend to be a woman online.
Yeah.
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 I
think that's definitely part of what made those two particular cases significantly worse. In like, there was just a cult of personality built around them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where like people are exploding against others for like the case that happened between Zippo and Midori. Like, I'm not gonna go into the full details. I think everyone here knows what happened there. And regardless of who was in the right or wrong, people should not have been like trying to dox Zippo over shitty leaks and who dropped the Sonic toy name first.
Right.
Sonic Toy Party name first, or whatever it was called. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But people like mob mentality over it because they love the messenger in this case, except for when the messenger gets like one thing wrong, and then they hate the messenger.
Everything that they've ever said has been wrong.
Like, before Puro fell apart, you could see it happen in real time ahead of this Nintendo Direct. Like, Puro hinted at the Direct coming, and everyone was praising him on Twitter and doing meme posts and all this.
Yeah.
And then when build up to the Direct and Puro wasn't saying anything, and then they just started hinting at like one or two things that were all third party, you could see this change of all the people who were like building up Puro to be like, do something. Say something else. You've said a Direct is coming, but what's gonna be there? And then they hint at something, and everyone's like, "Oh, what could it be?" And they're speculating Tomodachi Life, this, that, and he's like, "Oh no, it's a third party." And then everyone is immediately like, "Oh." And it's just absolutely wild. These obsessives that have to be spoon-fed everything every day. And like you miss one day and they go like turn into actual like rabies induced apes. It's insane. Can't stand it.
Yeah.
But I also just on the topic of leaks and rumors just in general, I don't want to sit here and say like leaks and rumors are like terrible by default. Right? The Giga Leak had a lot of really terrible stuff in it that shouldn't be public, a lot of personal details. But it also did provide us with a lot of really cool historical details and gave us glimpses into things that we otherwise wouldn't know, like this Game Boy version of Sudi Hakon or Hajimari. I was about to say Hajime no Mori, but that's Animal Crossing. The forest. God, I can't remember what it's called now. The Forest game for the Super Nintendo that had a Game Boy port that we found out through that. And like that's all really interesting information. You just have to like be responsible and delete all of the personal information. But going back to even older rumors like the Famitsu leaks and stuff, where like a scan of a magazine page would appear. Like I think those kind of leaks are fine. And I think the reason for that is that it doesn't really change how you get the information, it just you get it early. Because it would be like we'd either see a scan of the magazine that reveals these Pokemon, or the official magazine would drop and someone would post that magazine picture on the weekend, and that would reveal the news to us. It doesn't change how we do it, it just gives it to us early. But there's a big difference between like seeing something in Nintendo Direct, like a full trailer reveal, and being told it by some rando on Twitter that it's a thing that exists. I mean, Midori and the Grinch leak, people blow that out of proportion. The only connection between it is that Midori believed the Smash Grinch leak was real.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Like, that's the only connection they have to it. They didn't like make it or do anything like that. They just were like, yeah, this is definitely real. When everyone who actually did know what they were talking about was like, no, it's not. And like, the Grinch leak is another infamous example of just a bad leak, because that wasn't the case. It was just fake.
I'm still not over the fact that people who really wanted it to be real got really, really aggressive when it wasn't real, and also went after people who were saying, yeah, it's not real. Jesus Christ, people, it's a video game.
Yeah. There's one guy on Discord who might be like one of the only people I've ever blocked, who just consistently sent me like harassing messages and stuff because I was the one who made that really long Twitter thread debunking the Grinch leak and pointing out all the ways it was wrong.
Jesus Christ.
And he just wouldn't leave me alone for an entire month. And I knew it was wrong because I knew what the Smash roster was like months in advance.
Yeah.
So I knew it was wrong.
It was
But
fun
you
to
could
watch
tell
it
it
all
was
happen
wrong
though,
just
even
by
though we
looking
knew.
at it. Yeah. I was going to say something else about the Grinch leak as well. I've forgotten now. Oh well. It was a silly leak at a silly time. But props to them. That was the era where fake leaks was somewhat interesting. Like at least it was sort of a well done fake leak, even if you could.
I
Look
do
a bit
actually
closer
miss
at
that.
it.
I miss
Yeah,
that
there is
that there was
element of
that time period of good fake leaks, or at least even if the fake leak wasn't good, they still had like enough effort put behind them. Like going back to Pokemon Koro leaks, like with the freaking the Popplio evolution, that's like the killer clown or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's really goofy. But there's still like art that went into that somebody had to like try to design a fake mon basically. I like those, or like the fake menu leaks that we have for Smash Bros. That we even did a stream on. It's even though we like, yeah, this is so obviously fake, it still gets us to discuss things about, hey, what would we want the menu to look like? Like, I wish that creative side of leaks, even though like, yeah, we all know it's fake, but when it's like really convincing and then it gets people discussing. Even though it may never end up true in the end, that's still something fun to converse about. And I wish that we had that. We don't have that anymore. It sucks.
We actually got one
Really?
recently with
About what?
Pokemon ZA. Someone posted like a fake screenshot of it.
I have not
showing,
seen
like-
that. Whoa.
Yeah, it was in Leaks and Rumors, and like Onion popped in to like basically rip it apart.
Oh, so right after I joined in the conversation, it was already talked about, I guess, because I missed that completely.
Yeah, like it was just basically like a picture of like a trainer battle against like a gentleman trainer using the same style, I think, from Pokemon X and Y. And it was just like meant to be clearly taking place in Lumio City, down like an alleyway, and you could tell that like they'd kind of just taken text in the Pokemon language from somewhere and just posted it on a sign in the background to try and make it look like it was an authentic thing. But if you like actually look at the details a bit more, you can start seeing where it's falling apart, where like the models just didn't quite look right for a Pokemon game, and obviously like Pokemon ZA could look different.
I found it.
But it didn't look like there was just something off about it. Like it looked fan made, similar to that other fake Splatoon 4 concept art leak that also happened recently.
Were you talking about the Final
like,
Fest one?
You could,
or...
yeah, it was the one where it was like Splatoon 4 concept art, and it had like an idol who was like a ballerina or something. And like you could just tell by looking that these are like the Blender Splatoon models that you see fans use all the time.
So I don't know which one you're talking about, but there is an artist that has done like, I think they also did this for Splatoon 3 as well. Like they have their own concept of Splatoon 4 and they like do like a whole bunch of fan art about that, because I believe they also did it for Splatoon 3. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but in those cases, actually, even though
that origin, but I saw people posting it as if it was a leak.
Okay.
Because it was in the leaks and rumor chat. So,
gotcha. Let me look that one. That not.
Yeah. And these have all just happened in the last few days, and I prefer, even if they're always fake, I would much prefer seeing them because they're at least fun.
Yeah.
Than getting text, because to really sum it up, all stuff like Pure and Midori are the equivalent of 4chan leakers, but not anonymous.
Right.
And we're gonna get more of them. People are already talking about someone in Error who leaked stuff in the Nintendo Direct ahead of it, and nobody noticed until afterwards. But like, I'm fine with the one person giving cryptic hints before to a small group of people, just to sort of, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I know I'm right. And I want people after the fact to be like, oh shit, this is someone here knew. Like, as long as you don't take it further than that, that's where I think then it just starts to become obnoxious.
Personally, I think that legitimate leakers should make a new account for every time they leak, so they don't build up a following.
Yeah, that probably would be a good idea too.
I want a Waddle Dee nose, but for like every
I was gonna bring up Waddle Dee nose, yeah.
every enemy from whatever game. So Goomba nose and got Moblin nose. We'll do that every time.
But thankfully,
most
of Nintendo Direct wasn't leaked, at least for me.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it wasn't. And shall we talk about the Nintendo Direct?
Absolutely.
Link, you weren't there for that.
I wasn't there for the reaction stream. No.
Yeah.
Do
you want to give
I
wasn't there? Good thing I wasn't there.
Do you want to give your general thoughts, leaving the big one? I think for you to talk about at the end afterwards, so we can talk that one a bit more thoroughly.
Yeah, sure. The Mario and Luigi game looks really good, actually. I am pleasantly surprised at how well they transitioned to 3D, because I know that there's 3D stuff in both Dream Team and Paper Jam, but like this full 3D, just the style looks great. It's like the art jumped off the pages.
Yeah, looking at the trailer that Phantom's put on there, I really like the shading on the 3D models, because the Mario and Luigi Dream Team style introduced a really cool way of shading where it kind of goes purpley violet the darker it gets.
Yeah.
And I can see it on these 3D models that they've done the exact same type of shading for them, which is super cool.
Every reaction called it because it's so identifiably the art style.
When we were watching it, I felt like I couldn't remember the name of it.
When something is on the screen, when something is on the screen, you're gonna be like, "Oh, it's this,"
and you know it's a good art style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks so good. Gosh.
It does. I think are we under agreement that we think it's probably Ilka with maybe a bit of Monolith Soft behind it?
Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about the developer stuff.
It's probably a Three Houses type situation where in-house Nintendo is there at another company helping make the game.
Yeah. Like that's what
I think it's like just like the main people from Monolith, because there's like 3 people in Monolith Soft, right? From Alpha Dream.
I think there's at least definitely one, and that one is like the most important one, because he's the director of the series.
Game director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he's the one from Monolith Soft, and then
that's
a bunch of them from just from the development team.
That's why I say it's like Three Houses, because like it's the director from Intelligent Systems, and then like a few people, and then the rest of it was just Koei Tecmo.
I think that what's it called? That setup is something that is believable to me. I feel like let's pull people from that worked on the series here. Let's do that.
Monolith works on non-Nintendo games as long as they're released on a Nintendo system. That's like a thing.
Yeah, and like I think it doesn't really matter because I mean technically the team from Monolith that would be working on this would be the ones who have only done Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But it's not like a hard rule that Monolith can't be involved. The more important thing here is the individual who works on that team,
right?
Not the fact that it's Monolith. Like, I'm just going based on like what we know happened with Another Code, where the main director for that worked at Arc Systems, but not everyone did. And then Arc Systems put together the team leading him, and a few people from other studios came over who had worked on Another Code, like key people, like the series writer popped over just to work on this one project with Arc Systems. Like, it's going to be that situation. It would be interesting if this is Ilka, because if it does well, I can imagine Ilka kind of becoming the permanent home of Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
And given that Pokemon Company already set up, like, a Pokemon division at Ilka, like a Pokemon Works, which we haven't seen, obviously, anything of since Pokemon Diamond, Shining Pearl. I'm wondering how Ilka might slowly get taken over.
I mean, it's still the Pokemon home.
It's probably not super unlikely, because they have a partnership with Bandai Namco.
Yeah. So they got Sandland
But
in One Piece.
yeah, Bandai Namco is really, really close with Nintendo too. So
Yeah.
I believe they formed a new studio. Yeah, Bandai Namco Aces to make the next Ace Combat game. They're good
Yes.
developers. They just weren't given the freaking time to make a good game with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Yeah, that game definitely only exists because Game Freak sort of panicked about the fact that fans would want an actual remake of Diamond and Pearl and not just Legends Arceus.
Yeah, I'm of two minds about this. Of two minds. That's the wrong phrase. I have a few thoughts about this. And it's like I'm really glad that this Mario and Luigi game is not another remake.
Yes.
People have been saying that they would remake Partners in Time, which would be a very bad idea. That game is good in spite of the fact that it is a rushed, almost tech demo-ish game. And it would not be a good way to bring the series back after the last two games were underwhelming remakes. I'm so glad it's a new game.
Yeah, I'm glad it's also like the third Mario RPG we've had in a year. It's nice to have one that's entirely new.
Yeah.
They've been really going at it. I definitely will pick this one up.
Really weird.
The art style alone makes me very interested. But this would be my first Mario. Hold up. This would be my first Mario RPG in general.
Damn.
So I'm actually really excited to try this out. And then if I had the what's it called, the Switch Online expansion, yeah,
you not have the expansion pass?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
All right.
That's a lot of money.
Part of a family group. I feel like we have two.
Well, I'm in a family group, right? And we have discussed, hey, are we gonna do the family expansion pass? And we were like, hey, that's a lot of money. We gotta have to like actually converse about that. And you know, like, granted, these are friends that I've had in person back in high school. But when things move to online, not everybody is able to talk. So like we haven't really talked about it too much, or the fact that, you know, some people don't really use their Switches anymore. Well, they don't, because I do. So they mostly play PC games, whereas I still play my Switch a lot and PC games. So if they're not even playing their Switch that much, they're still willing to pay for the base family plan for the Switch Online, but not for the, you know, the bigger part, the bigger price for the expansion pack.
Yeah. I just throw $20 or $25 at Colin every year.
Yeah, well, we just have it organized. I think I'm the one who's currently organized it for the other Source Gaming group for all that.
There's two Source Gaming groups.
I thought it was just three of us.
No, there's one that we've had. Obviously, there's only have 8 people in it. It got set up ages ago because it's got like push in it.
Oh, okay. So there's 3. Got it.
Yeah. So there's like mine has like Push and Nerbion, and I'm pretty sure Cartboy is in it as well.
Cool.
Liquid's in it. I don't know who else is in it. We definitely had a full 8, but I think like someone dropped out. Maybe Push dropped out. I think there might have been issues, but he still paid, but he can't get access to it. I'll have to look. We only go in it every like September to be like, all right, are we doing this again? Yeah, okay.
So wait, so is there a family group that has space for one person?
Oh, yeah, I found it. Yeah, Voyager and Mango are also in it. 1, 2, 3,
yes,
4, 5,
there
6,
is
7,
a
8.
family group that has space for one person.
Is it expansion pass?
Yes.
Yes, ours is. Yeah,
I pay for it.
I pay for it on this side.
I might have to step on over there.
Yeah, I'll check on my Switch as well, just to see who it is, because I'm looking at the Discord chat we have, and one of them, I've got a deleted user in here now, and I don't remember who it is.
Oh, what the hell!
So I need to check who's part of this family pass, if they're still a part of this family pass. I'll let you know afterwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah, then you could play the first Mario and Luigi, which is the best Mario and Luigi.
Mario. Oh,
So,
well, I was
not
like, wait,
wrong.
I was like, wait, you mean Super Mario
I
Brothers?
have
What
only
includes
played
Mario
the
Luigi?
first two. I've only played the first two Mario Luigi games, so yeah, the first
Yeah,
one's the better of those two.
Yeah,
I mean,
my hot take is that the third one is not good.
I could also be able to play Four Swords on a
still haven't
Switch,
played it.
so I'm happy
I
about
still
that.
haven't played it. I cannot comment on that.
Yeah. My order for Mario and Luigi goes the first one, Dream Team Bros, Partners in Time, the third one, and then Paper Jam. Like Paper Jam has like the best combat, but just has a really dull everything else. Like it's and all the side content in that game is really boring. Like I don't like the papercraft fights and the Toad searches is just terrible. But like the actual combat is easily the best in that game. Partners in Time I remember really liking. It's the one I haven't played since it came out. So I just kind of remember it as being a game I really liked. Nah. Anyway, what else was in this direct? Yeah, what else, Slink? Do you want to talk about?
Metroid Prime 4 looks good. Retro Studios are still insane wizards. I have seen the uncompressed trailer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only problem with it is that there's no anti-aliasing, but whatever, man. The Switch can't handle all that.
It does. It's so funny seeing people saying, "Oh, it's running on the Switch too," and it's like, mate, did you play Metroid Prime Remastered 1?
It does not look like that far off from Metroid Prime Remastered.
Like it's I could absolutely believe this is running on the Switch, and I think it's really interesting Samus's design in Metroid Prime 4.
I noticed they made the shoulder pads reasonable.
Yes. Not like the ridiculousness from Prime 1. But like Prime 2 and Prime 3 really hyped up having like different armor for Samus. Yeah. And so did Metroid Dread. And so like I was just kind of anticipating Prime 4 to go the same direction. But they it's not.
Won't blow the lid on that until later. The game's closer, because they said 2025, right?
Yes, they did, yeah.
I'm expecting it to come out at the end of the year next year.
Oh, no, I don't think it'll be that late. I think it's for me. It depends on when Pokemon ZA comes out. If that's going to be first half of next year or second half of next year. I think by this time next year we'll be playing Metroid Prime 4.
I'm not sure about that, but I appreciate the enthusiasm.
It's hard because we have a Nintendo game that comes out 2025, which is a port of an older game that already has a date. It's like the fact that this doesn't have a date would make you think, oh, it's probably going to come later, because 2025 is just like a blanket of any place in the year. It's not even like, oh, winter or fall or anything like that. 2025. So I feel like it could potentially be summer. It could or like really late spring, or it could be like holiday. But if because I am in the mindset of that, oh, this is going to be out like when the Switch 2 comes out, that means that whenever I think this is going to come out also means I think that's when the Switch 2 comes out.
Well, yeah, so this is the thing, right? Like, how does it work around the Switch 2? Because I'm not of the mindset that this is like a cross-gen Switch 2 game like Breath of the Wild was. I don't think we're going to get a game like that, because I think the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, so it's pointless. So the question really comes is, will Metroid Prime 4 come out before the Switch 2, or will it come out after the Switch 2? Because
before. The only reason that something like Twilight Princess was cross-gen is because they had to make two whole different bespoke versions because of the controllers.
Yes.
And Breath of the Wild was cross-gen because the Switch can't play Wii U games. If Switch 2 is backwards compat, it will not be cross-gen because there is no point.
Yeah, exactly. And so the question comes down to, would Nintendo want to do a 3DS thing where they're still pushing out Switch 1 games even after the Switch 2 comes out? And if they are still doing that, would they want to do it with a high-profile game like Metroid Prime 4? Like, I can see Pokemon Company doing it because they have a track record of doing stuff like that. Like, they released Black and White 2 after the 3DS came out.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have a track record for this. But, like, I don't necessarily think they would want to do that with Prime 4 because you run the risk of... Well, yeah, Switch has an install base. You also run the risk of, like, stuff that happened to the post-Switch 3DS games where they just didn't sell as well. Like, I'm really curious how Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia sold.
It sold over 1 million units as of, like, last year.
But how did that compare to Fates? And then
it's less than Fates and obviously less than Three Houses, but it sold. I mean, it sold well enough to put the guy in charge of Three Houses. So,
I mean, because there's a difference between it being like critically successful and commercially successful.
It was commercially successful. It sold really well. We have only the Japanese sales numbers as concrete sales numbers, but it sold especially well in its release week.
Fair. Because I'm trying to think, like, because obviously the rumored Fire Emblem remake wasn't in here, and I'm trying to suspect whether or not that's been pushed back to be a Switch 2 game.
There is no rumored Fire Emblem game.
Dawn back in the day.
You were lied to.
No, or will it be a similar situation of the last Fire Emblem remake, where it launches after the next console is out, and like we get say Genealogy of the Holy War next summer.
It sold over like 200k units within 2 weeks of being released in Japan, and it was topping the charts in United Kingdom, Australia, and North America. So I assume it just did really well. And it sold well enough to be able to just barely reach 1 million copies by the time of the December 31st, 2022? Yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
Right before the shop shut down, it did sell over 1 million units. So that's really good, especially for a remake.
Is that all right? I guess maybe a better example then for Metroid Prime would be like, how well did Samus Returns do?
I think Samus Returns also broke 1 million, but it was also by the same threshold. Let's see. Let's find out.
Because I feel like Metroid Prime 4 is one of the first games they announced for Switch, and I feel like they have high expectations of it. So, like, would they I feel like they'd want to position it where it wouldn't have to compete with another Switch 2.
From what I understand, we don't have any sales numbers for Samus Returns, and it has not sold over 1 million copies like Shadows of Valentia has.
Right.
For those of you in the audience unaware, Fire Emblem is a bigger series than Metroid now.
That's true. It's very true.
It has been for a while.
Yeah, more releases allow you to do that.
They jeered at him because they did not want to hear the truth.
I think because I'm of the mindset that, well, I think we're all in the mindset that Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible. So there's a discussion that we were having in Leaks and Rumors that why would Metroid Prime 4 go out as the release title or like a launch title for the Switch 2? Why would you put Metroid Prime 4 in that situation where it's easier to put a Mario game or a Zelda like what happened with Switch in that position? And my perspective is that putting Metroid in that position allows the ability for Metroid to kind of get those potential sales numbers like Zelda did, because it's not like Zelda has never sold well before. That's a fucking crazy statement I would be making. Zelda has sold well. It is their third most popular series. If you or is it fourth now, considering Splatoon?
No, it's still Zelda's still second,
Okay.
third even. It's
Three.
I guess like the real question is what's more popular, Mario or Pokemon?
I believe it goes Mario, Pokemon, and then if you're just going by games, I think it's Mario, Pokemon, and then Zelda.
Pokemon's the biggest media franchise in the world.
Yeah, but if you're just going by games, that's why I said if you're just going by games, because Pokemon will always be bigger. But just by going by games, I think it would be Mario first.
What's after Zelda? Animal Crossing or Splatoon?
Probably Animal. Whoa, wait, huh? I would assume Animal Crossing now, and then Splatoon.
Yeah. Animal Crossing exploded
Yeah.
in the Switch era, so
Yep. I'll tell you something else that exploded in the Switch era.
1-2 Switch.
Pikmin.
Oh.
funny
No.
Pikmin. Now the only Nintendo franchise that does better in Japan than anywhere else.
Yep. I will tell you this, and I know this for a fact at the moment. The 5 most important Nintendo franchises that are Nintendo franchises, so Pokemon's not counted in this.
Yeah, Pokemon's not counted.
Are Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, and Pikmin.
Right.
Those are the 5 key pillars for Nintendo right now.
We know that because it's featured in the Nintendo Tokyo Store.
I mean, that is also true. They do
Yeah.
pick all 5 of them in the Nintendo Tokyo
Yes,
Store.
no joke. That is literally how that works too.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen the banner. Hold on.
Those are the most important series, unfortunately, for Metroid and Star Fox fans.
Yeah.
Although I would still
um,
consider Metroid an A-tier franchise.
I'm actually not sure about the 5th one. I don't know if it's Splatoon or Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong's weird.
Hmm.
I know objectively that those 5 are, but I don't know whether or not Donkey Kong is considered like a Mario property, or if Donkey Kong's just not that important right now for the sole fact that it hasn't had a new game in like a decade plus.
Right.
Donkey Kong is the other thing. No, wait, no. Somebody edited this, didn't they? Oh, never mind. Screw it.
Someone adds Donkey Kong to the banner.
I typed Nintendo Tokyo banner, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is this stock art? And then I realized, oh no, wait, this is some weirdo on Twitter who edited it. No, it's Splatoon. It's Splatoon.
Oh, I've seen the exact one. It's like fix your store banner, isn't it? Oh, it's the Kremlin. It's the Kremlin campaigner guy. The guy who's obsessed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that makes so much sense now.
You put King K. Rool in there.
Yeah, it's Mario, Zelda,
Animal Crossing, Splatoon, and then Pikmin is just like all around the store as well.
I see some little Pikmin in this banner, so yes. There they are. I see them.
To go back to what I was explaining, I think Metroid being in that position of Switch 2, like a Switch 2 launch title, gives it a potentially really good chance of actually getting numbers that it won't be as high as Zelda, hell no. But I think it may pass, more than just being 1 million, maybe even more than just 2 million. They if they wanted to, they could do like a fucking special edition Switch 2 that features Metroid on it. That's possible as well, and maybe it does or doesn't come with with Metroid Prime 4. Who fucking knows? But I think it's a very different situation because with the Switch, you have no games that are coming to it unless the games that you're launching with it. So you had Zelda 1-2 Switch and your third-party support such as Super Bomberman R and Kamiko and a few other games.
Neo.
Yeah, Fast Racing Neo.
Fast Racing RMX, sorry, was the
with the Switch 2. Yes, you are launching a new console, so yes, you do need something that can kind of also represent whatever new features this console has or whatever capabilities that it has. With Metroid Prime 4 having taken so long, and we know that the Switch 2 is going to be revealed before the end of the next fiscal year. We're in the mindset that these two are going to be related to one another. And if we're also in the mindset that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible, I think it would actually be fine for Metroid Prime 4 to be a launch title for the Switch, because you have like 50 plus other games that work on the Switch 2 if it's backwards compatible. You have every game that came on the Nintendo Switch out that's going to work on Switch 2. That in and of itself is already an incentive to have, to them is going to be a new game. In reality, these are older games. They're like, but if you're a person that's getting the Switch 2 and you buy Smash Ultimate to you as an owner is a new game, but that is an old game. If you want a new game that actually has like potentially Switch 2 capabilities, Metroid Prime 4 could be that game. And I think having Metroid Prime 4 in that slot to do that, it works in the aspect of giving more, putting more eyes onto Metroid, because that's a pretty big spot to be in as a launch title for a new console, and also to just push this in general for the fact that it's a new console. People want to buy a Switch 2.
My one argument against this is that they announced Metroid Prime 4 as a Switch game. They're showing it off here as a Switch game.
Yes.
So there isn't a world where Metroid Prime 4 is exclusive for Switch 2. And
I don't think it'll be exclusive. I'm not saying that. No.
Yeah, well, but here's the problem, right? It's all about how you market it. I don't think there's any point. I don't think Nintendo would see any point in making a Switch 1 version and a Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4, because realistically, looking at that, the Switch version is like the objective superior version because you can play it on the Switch and Switch 2. And the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4, you'd only be able to play on the Switch 2. So it only exists purely for marketing purposes to be like, Metroid Prime 4 is actually a Switch 2 launch game, not a Switch 1 game, even though it's available on both. And that feels like a lot of extra steps and a lot of confusion to have, just to hope that more people will be tricked into buying Metroid Prime 4 because they think it's one of the only Switch 2 games they can get. Because that's why launch titles always sell so well, because there's limited games you can actually get at launch for a new system. And when you get a new system, even when it's backwards compatible, you're not buying a Switch 2 to then buy Switch 1 games. You'll be compelled to buy exclusive Switch 2 games. Well, and I just don't think Metroid Prime 4... I understand why it would benefit from it, but I think in the long run it would just sort of come off as a bit more confused and not work as well as I think they would hope it would be. And I don't see them not making it on the Nintendo Switch. So, yeah.
I guess I'm not expecting it to be like an exclusive Switch 2 title. Like as you said, they already announced for Switch, and I'm expecting it to be a Switch game. I guess in that framing of there questionably may be some games that have added capabilities or graphical updates on the Switch 2. If I'm viewing, I'm not saying that Metroid Prime 4 doesn't look fucking great. It does look great, but if there are certain things that it gets a boost in, or maybe even like a feature or something that is on the Switch 2, then that's kind of like your interest in buying it in the Switch 2. Kind of like this is like a kind of niche. Not niche series, but niche example. You can play Pokemon Black and White on your regular DS, but there is a niche feature that you lose out on by doing that. Because if you play on the DSi, you can actually use the X transceiver to actually face cam with people. That is that's a very niche feature, but it's something that you can still do. I mean something like that. Or not, yeah, not where Switch 2 will grant you something, and that's your incentive to buy it on the Switch 2 as well. Or to buy a Switch 2 as well.
I'm expecting a bunch of key Switch 1 titles to be enhanced in some way on the Switch 2 as part of an incentive, and Metroid Prime 4 will definitely be one of those games. I just don't think there's a particular reason to have Metroid Prime 4 pushed as a Switch 2 title or a launch title, even with those bonuses. But I do think there's and I don't think that you'd need to release Switch. I don't think you need to release Metroid Prime 4 after Switch 2 in order to sort of justify that. I think you can release it a good month or a bit before. But I guess that's the other question with Prime 4, right? would there be a fear that if you announce the Switch 2 is coming out in May and then Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in March, that people wouldn't buy Metroid Prime 4 because they're saving up money to buy a Switch 2? So do you want to get the Switch 2 out first and hold Metroid Prime off for a few months so that people who have already bought a Switch 2 have already spent that money and maybe built up money again to now buy Metroid?
Well, I guess that depends on how much money we expect the Switch 2 to cost, because people already have to do that for the Switch 1.
Mm-hmm.
If I understood you correctly.
I'm basically just saying what would Nintendo what would do best by Metroid, like having it out before the Switch 2 so that it doesn't have to compete with any Switch 2 games, but you run the risk that people won't buy Metroid Prime 4 because they're saving up money for a Switch 2,
right?
Or coming out after the Switch 2 on the hope that people who bought it will have like earned money or whatever, or gotten money back, so that they now have money to buy Metroid Prime 4. And you just make sure that there aren't any Switch 2 games that come out in like the same month that Prime 4 does, so that it's because technically people would be able to buy it on the Switch 2. Like, which of these is more important? Basically,
I think with Metroid Prime 4 being a Switch game, if it comes out after the Switch 2, I think people may also fall into the mindset of, am I going to get something for buying it in use for the Switch 2? This is not coming out afterwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, how does it retroactively, in a sense, work with the Switch 2? Is it just going to be like how it would on a Switch, or would it be? Is it going to be something new?
And I mean, I think another argument here on this is like, will people, if they bought a Switch 2, choose not to buy Switch 1 games because they now view Switch 1 as outdated, even though they can play it on their Switch 2? Like, that's the other factor. Like, oh, I've got the new shiny piece of hardware, so I don't want to play my Switch 1 anymore. And I don't want to be buying Switch 1 games anymore.
I can't speak to... I don't know how Nintendo fans are going to view it, but at least with...
I mean, Nintendo fans will buy whatever, to be honest.
True,
it's more the casual fans.
Right. I think in regards to, like, we can look at PlayStation to get the mindset of, like, well, it seems like people are receptive or understanding the fact that your PS4 games work on your PS5, so you could buy your games as PS4 games, and then if there is an update, you can purchase the update, or the update will just come later, and then you still get the benefits of having purchased a PS4 game. Because even also publishers are also
bought a PS5 game.
Say it again.
But also, Sony also, like, I think the difference there is that Sony, like, sold PS4 and sold a lot of their games as both PS4 and PS5 games if they had PS5 like versions, even though you could, again, if you got the PS5 version, you'd only play it on PS5, but if you got the PS4 version, then you'd play it on PS4.
Right. But
they did the whole marketing thing. Like,
they're doing the thing where you can buy PS4 games and they still work on your PS5. Some of those PS4 games can get upgraded to then get, like, high definition, remastered versions on your PS5, or like any type of new console update or anything like that. But also there's publishers that are releasing games still just for PS4 because they already know that, well, PS4 games just work on PS5, so there's no reason for us to do a PS5 unit if a PS4 unit works just as well.
All right. Before we move on to, because I think I want to talk about Zelda before we start wrapping.
True.
Before we get that, I saw Shockwood say in chat that in Nintendo's press release they say Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and Splatoon. Although Pokemon isn't mentioned on the Japanese side, only the Western side. And I think that's it. I think those are like. So the way I've always seen it is that they're like S-tier franchises are Mario, Zelda, and then Pokemon. And then their A-tier franchises has like Animal Crossing, Splatoon, and Pikmin as the top 3. And then Kirby and Fire Emblem follow that. And then Metroid is there hanging on at the end, basically. And Donkey Kong is also in the... I'd probably put Donkey Kong above Kirby. I know this has been an argument we've had in the past at Source Gaming, but I think I'd lean on putting Donkey Kong above Kirby just from a brand recognition point. and then like and then Metroid is hanging on there as an A tier franchise. In the past, Star Fox was probably considered an A tier franchise, but I would say that's fallen down to B tier at this point. High B tier, but still B tier. Actually, no. Super Smash Brothers is also an A tier franchise as well. I'd say that
one's
counts.
weird though.
Huh?
That
That
one's
one's weird
though,
because they don't
since
list it.
It's like
What's that,
it's a
Slink?
crossover.
Can you not hear?
That was a little strange though because they don't really list it as a crossover. That one's a little strange though because it's a crossover.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
My
They
brain
don't
went
they
all
don't make
funky.
merch for it and they don't list it. But I would say just from a success point of view and like how important the series is, like they make a deal out of Super Smash Brothers every generation.
Yeah.
That I put it as an A tier franchise. And I'm considering all Mario stuff Mario series, so I'm not counting Mario Kart as separate. Otherwise, that would also be like an S tier franchise.
Right.
All right, talk about Zelda.
Oh boy.
Because you've not been particularly positive on Zelda.
No. I described myself on like the last live stream I was on as a former Zelda fan, and this.
Oh, your
shit is
internet. Sorry, you're
why.
cutting out really badly.
Am I?
No.
Hold on.
You are on my end.
No, is it you?
Is it a me problem?
That
It's
must
a
be
me
you
problem.
then. Because I can hear. Here's the thing: you're not cutting out for me, and Slink isn't cutting out for me. So that means that something must be happening with
it's
you.
a me problem. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. Hold on.
Gotcha.
Sorry, continue, Slink.
Okay, that's why that was happening. Interesting. But yeah, I've described myself in the last stream that I was on. I said that I was a former Zelda fan, and this presentation has kind of reinforced that belief. Because immediately after the introduction, and they show the funny shot evoking the opening of Breath of the Wild, Aonuma comes in and is like, "Oh, hello everyone. We know that you've been wanting a new 2D Zelda game, so we thought to ourselves, how can we make a 2D Zelda game that is not what you wanted? And break the convention of Zelda." And it's like, that's great, guys. Thanks. I definitely wanted a new Zelda game that's trying its best not to be a Zelda game. I feel really, really strongly about this one in this case because even if the game is underwhelming, it'll sell gangbusters because they decided to pull the trigger on making Zelda the main character for this one. And that is disappointing. Very, very disappointing.
Yeah, I get it. I'm a lot more positive about this than you are, but I was also a lot more positive about Tears of the Kingdom and that just general style of Zelda. And I think them trying out that formula, but with the 2D style of Zelda game, and seeing how that works for that is interesting and something I'm interested in seeing take place. But I totally get it from the point of view of someone who just wants a Zelda formula type of Zelda, like something that a pre Breath of the Wild type Zelda game. I think that here though we've obviously only had one trailer. I think it's going to sort of come down to how much of this is Breath of the Wild TikTok styled and how much of this is traditional Zelda, but just with more freedom of movement with how you get about. Because judging by the end of this trailer, it still has dungeons and stuff in it. Like Zelda seems to be fighting or a dungeon boss seems to be rising at the end of it, and like I know that there's an idea of like you can just get all these everyday objects and use them to explore, but it's interesting and how like they might gatekeep some of these objects away from the player. Like how many do you actually have access to? How many are exclusive to specific areas that so you have to still go in a specific direction in order to get stuff? Because in that case, all of the stuff Zelda summons are basically just items,
Yeah.
like the same thing as traditional items.
The problem with it though is, and we saw it like 10 seconds ago in the footage, but
Mhm.
like when you open the menu to summon items, you got a really long list of items again. Oh my god, they don't learn.
I think I have a feeling that this game was made. It was mostly done before Tears of the Kingdom came out, before a lot of that criticism against Tears of the Kingdom dropped. So I think it might be a situation where it was a bit too late to fix.
Yeah, but it just feels like a fundamentally flawed system to begin with. You can do all of these things and collect all of these things that you can use, but like a lot of them just serve the same purpose. Why even bother? It's like the thing is when I see these uh you can summon like tables and blocks and beds and stuff. It's like, okay, why couldn't we just have a regular rod item that summons blocks? It's like it's extra for the sake of marketing, and it doesn't feel like it will enhance the experience at all.
Well, sorry, like there was cut out on my end here, so I'm just gonna have to deal with it. But I suspect the idea behind allowing so much stuff is to give players like make it feel like the players are coming up with the solutions that on their own rather than it being a
Yeah,
specific set item.
I know that a lot of people have the problem with Zelda puzzle design where there's one solution, but like that's what I like. In Tears of the Kingdom, there's a lot of situations where there's obviously an intended solution, but then you can do a whole bunch of other things, and and it just makes every solution feel less impactful as a result. Like I built a huge bridge to climb to the top of a shrine, and I'm like, oh, this is really funny, um, and I didn't feel very accomplished after I did that. Uh, it's different from the kind of end point of completing a puzzle previously, because the puzzle solve jingle always plays, but in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom it always feels really artificial, because it's not like playing at this one specific moment. It's just playing when you step over like a trigger for that jingle to play, and that's just kind of it doesn't feel as strong or impactful as previous games. It feels like uh, bargain bin market, um, like Walmart brand. It doesn't feel as amazing as previous games. It feels boring. And I've realized that I'm at odds with like the majority of people in saying that, because most people think the opposite, because of various factors and their own beliefs and how they come into it. But like, I wanted a Zelda game that played like a Zelda game, and I'm not really not getting that here. Just from the basis of how it begins alone.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm curious. I guess for me, with this one, um, is like I'm just curious at to what ratio between your concerns with like Breath of the Wild, like the Tears of the Kingdom style of formula, and then the traditional Zelda structure and
Yeah.
styles and stuff, and like at what the ratio is between for this game on meeting that.
Yeah. The thing is, when I see this game, I see that it's designed like a normal Zelda game in terms of like its world design. It's not ridiculously huge like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It doesn't have expanses where there's a bunch of like open wide space and places where you can go all 360 degrees around you. Um, but instead of having like you clear stuff with normal combat or normal items, you have this tri-rod system, and I just don't know about it. It doesn't feel fun. It just doesn't feel as fun as it would be if it was just a regular Zelda game. Because like I see all of the roundabout ways Zelda has to engage with enemies, and I'm like, well, that's. I wish I was just using a sword.
To be honest, I haven't counted them all yet. How you solve puzzles and battle.
I've mostly been quiet for the Zelda section, because I lack a lot of experience with Zelda. So first off, I'm very interested in hearing what Slink's perspective, because I always like hearing their thoughts on Zelda, even if it could be something that I disagree with or understand. I can understand from their perspective, even if I don't agree, through their how they view like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and then how now that the aspects of those games are reflecting elements in, you know, a new game like this. For me personally, I'm interested in the idea. As somebody, of course, as I said earlier, I'm not really big into Zelda games, not because I don't care for them, I just haven't played too many of them. Only ones I've played are Four Swords and Breath of the Wild, and I like both of those games. So, and Breath of the Wild was, of course, like a very, there was really loud music playing outside my window. I don't know if you guys could hear it, so I'm really sorry. Okay, if you guys are, sorry about that. Okay, thank you. But I'm open to this idea, and also because I'm kind of just open into the idea of you can make your series, you can take your series to different places, because we've seen a lot of series do that. Like, for instance, I'm a big Pokemon fan, so I completely understand the aspect of you know, getting games that are not like, you know, what you usually get, but also those end up usually being called spin-offs. Pokemon Dash, Pokemon Trozy, Pokemon Pokemon Battle Trozy, because I can't think of another Pokemon game right now. Pokemon Ranger. They all have the title of Pokemon at the start, but they all are understandably spin-offs, because the main games are referred to by the publishers themselves as the main games. Whereas something that I'm seeing that could potentially have helped in regards to Slink's perception of these titles is that a game like this is being called The Legend of Zelda, whereas there are some spin-offs within the series like Link's Crossbow Training that isn't called The Legend of Zelda Link's Crossbow Training. It's called Link's Crossbow Training, or like the Tingle games. I don't think they're called The Legend of Zelda Tingle game. They're called
not.
Tingle's game. Yeah.
The Tingle's
Hyrule
games,
Warriors,
Hyrule Warriors. Yeah,
Right,
Hyrule
that too.
Warriors is a spin-off, and Link's Crossbow Training is a spin-off. But those are the only spin-offs,
Right.
aside from like Game & Watch. But like, most people don't even know those exist.
Yeah. And this is a game where I feel like, because it features a lot of the Zelda elements, is it a spin-off, really?
No, it's
No.
mainline. It's strange, because games like Four Swords Adventures, and Triforce Heroes are also considered main Zelda games. They're not spin-offs, even though they're so radically different from everything else.
They are radically different, but I feel like, well, hold on. My bad. I'm gonna form this in the sense of a question, because I've played Four Swords and I felt like every level that you know on this map. Oh, the anniversary edition of Four Swords, might I add. So I don't know how different that is from the GBA version.
It's not.
Okay. You have your map, and then you go to that. You pick the place that you want to go to, and then that's like the mission that you're doing, which is like a kind of like you're not in a dungeon per se, but it's mapped out in a certain way. I assume like how a dungeon would be mapped out.
You pick locations from a map. And then you go to them. They're not connected in any way. That's how all three of those games function, which is why I bring them up. This is very close to a main Zelda game. Like,
but outside of
that,
gameplay wise, those outside like the structure of how you get to the places, them being more mission based, the gameplay is still like a Zelda game mostly, right?
Yeah. Okay. So yes and no. With Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures, but both of those games are regular combat, sword-based combat. That plays very much like a normal Zelda game, aside from like the formation stuff in Four Swords Adventures. But
Right.
still, the items are different because it gives you an item or a bunch of items. You use that, and that's your only item that you can use for that area unless you pick up a different one.
Oh yeah, that's true. You have to
Triforce
pick up and
Heroes
put that.
let you change your costume to have one extra ability per level. So that's different in that account. I don't remember if that game has items. I've only played the first world of it. But you're generally restricted much more in your ability to do things, which is actually a really big part of this that I wanted to get to, which is the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom type of game restricts your ability to use items specifically because you're given very few abilities at the beginning, and that's all you have for the entire game. Obviously, there's more stuff that you get along the way, but none of them are ever like impactful or used in the same way that Zelda items in the past were used. And sure, there's some Zelda items that only see usage in a single dungeon and then don't really get used much at all after that dungeon. But
Right.
in the way that you could tackle, for say, an Ocarina of Time, you can use many different things in combat. You have DQ nuts, you have DQ sticks as a child, you have the projectile weapon, slingshot, bow and arrow. You have a lot of options in how you tackle things. You can even just solely do combat with bombs or stuff. You're given access to different weapons. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, so many things overlap, so that even though there's like hundreds of different items and hundreds of different weapons, you essentially kind of only have like a very small selection of items that do different things and 3 weapons for with the bow for the entire game. And that's just like the thing. I prefer when a Zelda game can do new exciting things with each area, rather than being stagnant and the same for the entire adventure for the sake of not gating progress. I love when a Zelda game can flip the script on what is currently happening, like take away all of your abilities momentarily. And to Breath of the Wild's credit, it does do that for an optional area, but it's much more hesitant to restrict the player in any way, which, as I've talked about with Tears of the Kingdom in the past, is to that game's detriment and probably to future games' detriments, because there are really strong moments that can no longer happen because the game wants you to be able to do anything in any order, because the game wants you to not feel like you're being held by the hand through all of the events, and that's just like such a knee-jerk reaction to criticism that they received with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, that I can't help but feel like they have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and the whole bathtub, and the kitchen sink. We have these games that wear the skin of The Legend of Zelda, but fundamentally just are not The Legend of Zelda anymore. And the thing that makes it sting worse is the refusal and outright disdain that the current series producer Eiji Aonuma has for the old style of games. And the unwillingness to satiate the wants of older fans who are very much in the minority of the current fan base. Because we don't have old style Zelda games, and they took this one chance to make an older style Zelda game and went, nah, don't want to do that, and made this instead. There's just, it just doesn't feel like there's been a new Zelda game since 2015, which is wild because that's Triforce Heroes. I talked about how Triforce Heroes is like not even remotely a regular Zelda game. So it's so weird to put that as the cutoff point.
Well,
But with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom cementing that, it's so headstrong in what it wants to be. And those two games are exactly the same in structure and format and execution of almost everything. That they are different games, and there's no through line in between.
I wouldn't state that it's their one chance, because, you know, given that it's their series, they do have the opportunity to. They can at any point, if they want to, make another 2D Zelda game that is, you know, more in the vein of a class, like the standard Zelda format. Not, let me not say classic, because holy shit, that's the Sonic earworms. The Sonic earworms.
Zelda has evolved over time. The original Zelda game is very different from Link to the Past, but that feels like a linear progression. And most people, unless they're insane people who are the worst to talk to and not fun at parties, will say that A Link to the Past is in line with Zelda 1. It's just like, it's been 7 years since Breath of the Wild hit, and in that time, they made a game that is identical to Breath of the Wild in almost every way, a game that is heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild coming out this year, and a remake of Link's Awakening that very much seems like it existed before Breath of the Wild released and was supposed to be a 3DS game. More, and it shares a lot of DNA with like Link Between. The timeline of releases has gotten much wider, and in that time they have not delivered a completely new traditional Zelda experience, and it feels like suffocating sitting here as a fan of the series for over 25 years, just like all of these people saying, embrace change, the new thing is better, maybe you'll like it if you give it a shot. And it's like, I have like over 200 hours in both Wild games, and I don't like them. They're not what I want out of a video game or a Zelda game in particular. And the funniest thing about that is I actually really like Age of Calamity. And that's something that I notice is really common. Like, a lot of people like Age of Calamity for the exact same reason that I do, because it has like a strong identity, a strong set of characters that have good writing, and that's something that the more recent Zelda games lack. But I digress. I've been talking about gameplay this whole time, and now we're into narrative, and I don't even know a thing about how good the narrative in Echoes of Wisdom will be. But yeah, as I said, it just feels like these new games are wearing the skin of Zelda without wanting to be Zelda games. They feel disdainful. They feel like they don't want to embrace the series legacy, and I don't like that.
we have been going on for about almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. I enjoyed a lot of that Zelda conversation, and in general, this entire episode. Good morning, Swiss Gamer. I think we're about to wrap it out. Essentially, we're gonna wrap it out. Wrap it up. Jeez, gosh.
Yeah, my Discord's been a pain in the now, so I haven't been able to contribute to the Zelda conversation as much as I'd like to.
For some reason, Nanton's Discord has been cutting out. He tried to share the browser. It worked a little bit, and now it's also like even not right now cutting out a little bit. So
yeah, well, I'm not even on my Wi-Fi anymore. I'm now on like mobile data and using other forms. It's the same issue. So I'm almost like, is this a Discord problem? What's going on?
Potentially could be a Discord problem, like Discord servers over there.
Yeah. So yeah, but I can only I think for the new Zelda, just to say my little piece on it at the end here. Is I guess we'll just have to see exactly what it's like when it comes out and see how much of it is like how open-ended it is and how like the puzzles are designed and stuff, and just see where it goes from that point on. Because I like the style, but I hope they don't abandon the traditional Zelda so like that. And I think there's a world where we can have both of them, because people enjoy both of them. So like, I get their obsession with the new stuff right now, and I'm fine with it, because I think I'd rather it be a 2D Zelda they try and do this again with than the next 3D Zelda, where it's like the same thing for the third time. But like, if it keeps like this at some point, it is going to be like, we go back to where we were and do something entirely new again, because this is getting a bit tiring now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll see. But all right, Phantom, you can go back to the closing out.
All right. So, thank you so much to everybody for watching. This has been episode 97 of Good Morning Source Gaming. Yeah, we're closing out to an episode 100, and I'll say let's not discuss it now, but there is something that we're talking about in the background to figure out how to make the episode 100, and also, additionally, something I will add, the 10th anniversary of Source Gaming's existence as a whole, very special. So while we're discussing those things in the background, if you liked what you saw today, what you watched today, please consider subscribing, checking out our website, liking the video, and following us on Twitter for more Source Gaming news. Well, yeah, we do news sometimes. With reactions, news, reviews, articles on the website from Cartboy, Hamada, Wolfman, and many of the other creators like Flink, myself, Nanton, that we have on the team. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember to return to the source.